All right.
I could hear him now. All right.
Yep. You can hear. I can hear you. You can hear me, hopefully. All right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right. Lots going on in the world. Let the rest of the people show up here. All right. We're on time. Let's go.
Hey, Nico, quick question
Yes.
for you.
Yes.
This is Scott.
Hey, Scott.
Hey, morning. Hey, there's in the events uh Tuesday or not Tuesday, Wednesday, there's a BTC trading at 10 o'clock. And today there's a 10 o'clock Friday wrap up. I've tried getting in those the last couple weeks, but is that something you guys aren't doing anymore?
Events.
Yeah, and the Discord page, there's
Yep.
a
Looking
there's
at
a
it. Looking at it right now.
it's under facts, it's under events, and it's
I'm afraid those dates are, I mean,
when you click on it, it goes to, I'm looking at it right now. When you click on the events, it pulls up Tuesday evening live trading, and then below that it says Wednesday, and then live Bitcoin futures contract trading Wednesdays.
yeah, but look at the date. It says 4/3/2024.
Right, but if you go to I believe it's the facts, I found it. It says today's the date.
Yeah, it's the same calls Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 12 noon Eastern. It's just that
Right.
when we put them in the events channel, it's still showing the date from when we put it in there. I don't know why, but that needs to be changed. But I post the links to the live calls before the live calls in both the my signal channel and the main trade chat and in the announcements channel. So does
Yep.
Bill, so does Chad. But yeah, we're gonna have to fix this. So I apologize for that. So Tuesday
Yes.
evening was Chad's call at 6 p.m. Eastern.
And I
That
and I and I know those Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I've been coming to those and Chad's Tuesday night. But on this events page, it shows Wednesday, 14th, 21st, 28th, and the 4th. There's also a place in the facts that says today, and it was last week as well. But when we show up, we're the only ones that show up. So is that something that's
Well, I
not
mean, it
happening?
says January 13th, January 20th, January 27th, which obviously hasn't happened yet. We're not at those dates yet. So,
No,
um,
I know. They're in the facts section. There's another one. I think
facts. Did you say facts?
Yeah, FAQs. I think it's
Oh,
I think it shows
okay. Frequently asked question. Gotcha.
I gotta find it again, but it showed today's date, and up until that we had it scheduled in our calendar for today being the BTC at 10 o'clock before what you do right now at 11 o'clock. So
There are no calls as far as I'm aware of. Bill, are you on? I don't think there's any other calls earlier than my 12 noon Zoom call. There might be, but if these are put on, this was all put on a long time ago. So
I s-
the dates and times, I don't even know why it says 11 a.m. event series 11 a.m. Unless that's mountain time or central time or something. I don't know why it would say that.
and then if you scroll down on that the events page, when you click on that, if you scroll all the way to the bottom under that BTC or Bitcoin futures trading Wednesdays.
Yeah.
If you scroll down, you also have the team Zoom call Friday weekly market recap at 10
Yeah.
o'clock, which will
That's
be,
this that's this call, but
it says 10. So we had both scheduled in. Julie and I have
well, it
already
says whatever time you're in, whatever time zone what time zone are you in?
central, but
Okay.
they're
Mine says 11 a.m. So I'm in Eastern, so I'm an hour ahead of you, but it's 12 noon. Yeah, this needs to be changed and fixed.
okay.
It's Monday. The teams, I may call it something different, like even when I post in in the team Zoom, I mean, in my notifications page or the signals page, team Zoom call. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 12 noon Eastern is the team Zoom call. That's this call. It's
I
just on
see.
Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 12 noon Eastern. Whatever
Okay.
time that is in your time zone. I think there was a time change, and that's why that's off right now. Maybe we set our clocks back or forward. I can't remember which since then,
Yeah.
but this was all posted in 2024. So I
Yep.
apologize that it's not updating as time goes on, but these are the same calls.
No big deal. We just wanted to make sure it wasn't a total, looked like it was total separate calls because it listed at 10 o'clock our time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And then
yeah.
your Monday, Wednesday, Friday was listed at 11 o'clock our time, which is 12 your time. So it just appeared like it was
Yeah,
separate things.
it's going to show a time zone that you're in, but I'll get that changed so that there's no I'll just make sure that we get that changed. I haven't looked up there in a while, so I appreciate you bringing it to my attention. Normally we just post the links like I did in the Signal channel today, team Zoom call today, Friday, 1:19 at 12 noon Eastern. Those are the only calls. If I'm going to have a call, I post it before the call and we make an announcement. So those ones that are in the events channel, Bill, if you're on, I don't know if we can change that or not, but
That's something I've tried to change in the past, but it's you and Chad made the posts. I can't
Oh,
edit it. So
okay.
it's something you have to correct.
Okay.
Or we just need to remove the events channel altogether, which I'm down for. I have it pinned in every channel to schedule.
Yeah. I'll just let me see if I can. I'll edit that, guys, and
It's
we'll
a
just
daylight savings time thing for sure. It is.
Yeah, it's
That's what
changing
it is.
because of the time zones and because of the
Yeah.
daylight savings time. So yeah,
Okay.
it's not necessary, guys, to be worried about that. So I apologize if you showed up to a call and no one was there.
No big deal. Just want to
Our-
make sure you weren't missing out on something.
Yeah, no, we let you know. And normally, any live call that we're doing, we post it within an hour before the call starts.
Cool. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. All right, guys, let's get to it. Some things that I want to point out to you. Yesterday, I shared in the Discord this situation in my Signal channel, which was the golden death cross, the golden cross and the death cross. So we have the golden death cross, basically is what it is, on the 2-day time frame, going all the way back, several bull markets ago. Bull market top, green line crosses the red line to the downside, usually is the beginning of a bear market. Bull market top, green line crosses the red line to the downside, usually the beginning of a bear market. And same here in 2021. But if you'll notice, as soon as we cross, we do usually come back up to retest either the green or the red. As soon as we cross, we come back up to retest, sometimes the green and the red. As soon as we cross right here, as soon as the two lines cross, we come back up and retest. As soon as the two lines cross, we come back up and retest. And so here we are. The two lines cross. It's hard to see in this one, but I want to show you that there was an anomaly right here. This was the only time this happened. And this was the COVID crash where we went into a bear market. We got back above it and we came back down to retest. This is the only time we actually fell through in any bull market that we actually came out of a bear market, got back above the cross. In other words, there was a golden cross, which is the green line crossing back up above. That's why these green arrows are there. The green line crossing below is a death cross. The green line crossing back up is the golden cross. Golden cross is usually a sign of a bull market. It's usually a sign of a bull market. This was the only time where it dipped back low temporarily, and that was during the COVID crash. And then we got back above it and continued on in the bull market. But throughout history, these usually are pretty accurate. So let's just go and look at that here. This is the current situation. This is what I was just showing you. And as you can see, even though we dropped below the green line and we come down and bounce on the red line, this is back in 2021. We got below it. Then it crossed. And when it crossed, we came back up to it and tested it, even went through the green line and retested the red line before dropping. So we tear, same situation. We dropped below the green line and we came down and bounced on the red line. Boom. Fell through it in a downward falling wedge, broke out, and we are on our way back up to retest. This is why I was telling you guys that we're probably going to go up to 96 to 105K. And then if we can't get above that 105, if we can't get above, I mean, and hold above, we probably will drop back down. And now that is, by the way, what I'm just telling you is the typical bull market and bear market cycle. This time can be different because of all the things going on with the Clarity Act and everything getting ready to get finalized. If the Clarity Act passes, which technically it was already passed back in April, and then it was supposed to be finalized in the House and Senate. If it's bipartisan, meaning both agree still going forward, then it's good for crypto. And we could see, but that could only mean the pump that I'm talking about. That could only pump us back up to 110, 112. However, if this time is different and we get above this 109, 110 and hold, we could see renewed optimism and certainly pump much higher in all the way up to some of these much higher levels and maybe up into the 150, 160, 170. Why 150, 160, 170? Because I think we talked about this in the past as well. That would be in line with the 1.6 on the Fibonacci, which I will pull up right now and show you, which is something we've always hit. Also, remember, I told you with the pi cycle, we are far away from a top. The pi cycle normally crosses as well. This is not the pi cycle indicator. This is the golden ratio. This is the death cross and the golden cross. And the pi cycle normally crosses, and that usually indicates a top. And we have not had that yet. So in fact, it's far away. So if this time is different, and believe me, Chad believes this time is different. Chad publicly announced that he thinks that people are going to be shocked because people think that we're going into a bear market. The majority of the people think it's over, and that, you know, we could see renewed energy and renewed buying pressure coming into this year. And I believe that is possible as well. I'm not stuck on one direction or the other. All I do is I read I read the charts and I tell you what's happening, and I look at history and I tell you what's happened every time this has happened in history. But that doesn't mean that it's going to always continue to happen the same way it's always happened. What it basically means to me, this right here is what I was just talking about, is that throughout history, this one too, I just have it cut off, but you can see we went up to this yellow line back here in 2013 bull market. In 2017, we went up to this yellow line, which is the 2.36 on the Fibonacci. And in 2021 was the only time we did not make it to the 2.36, but we always got to the 1.6, always got to the 1.6. And down here, we would have had to have gotten to the 1.6 in order to get to the 2.36. Obviously, we went through it. So this was the only time that we didn't, and that was because of a couple things. COVID, we had the whole COVID situation, and we also had, which was basically an economic meltdown, and a whole country got brought to a grinding halt, and people probably weren't paying as much attention to crypto. But then also we had the FTX collapse. Sam Bankman-Fried, which was a registered centralized exchange that was being promoted by politicians and celebrities and sports stars and everybody. That guy stole billions of dollars in fraud, and they had to collapse and file bankruptcy. So that was this pump up here, and we hit the double topped at the 1.6 and then fell into a bear market. Here we are, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. By the way, these are different phases of a bull market. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, phase 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here, 1 in the bear market bottom, 15.5. We go into phase 2. We go into phase 3. We break through phase 3. We are in phase 4. And the top of phase 4 is the 1.6, where I have this arrow. The 1.6 on the Fibonacci would be $178,000 for Bitcoin. We've hit it every time so far throughout history. But does that mean it's going to hit it again just because we've done it every time? No. In fact, we hit the 2.3 before There was only 2 bull markets before that, 1, 2. So 100% of the time we hit that. And then this time we didn't. So what does that mean? That means that now we're in the 4th bull market cycle and only 2 out of the 3 previous ones hit it. That's a 66% chance, 66% chance that we're going to hit the 2.36. But out of the previous 3 bull markets, every single time we hit the 1.6. So that's 100% of the time in history we hit this. But since we didn't hit the 2.36 here, is it possible that this time we not only don't hit that, but we also don't hit this? I mean, by the way, we're way up here. We're halfway through phase 4. And we've already come all the way back down. As you notice, in phase 4, when we got into phase 4, look at this one. We went all the way up to more than halfway, and we pulled all the way back down. Not all the way back down, but we pulled down pretty far. Here, we went up to hit phase 4, and we came all the way, almost all the way back down before coming back up again. And here we have gone up. I'm sorry you can't see the price on the right side, but right somewhere in here is the 126K where we went up to, and we pulled back all the way back down to 80K. Not all the way to that red line. That red line is 70K, just so you know. That red line is 70K. We didn't pull back that far. We pulled back to 80. And so, sure, we can have a run up and hit that. Now, I was saying that it had to be done before December 31st. If you remember, I was on this call saying that has to happen before the end of the year because historically, on the 12-month time frame here, historically, if I go to the 12-month chart, this candle right here usually indicates the top of a bull market. So, and we went up to 126. And if we look at historically every time, and I know I keep repeating this and going over it, but I want you guys to see the big picture here and what I look at every day when I'm trying to analyze the charts and determine what's going to happen next. I have to kind of go back and look to just confirm things. But yes, every bull market top was December 31st. I mean, this wasn't December 31st. This candle ended and this candle started on January 1st. December 31st, this candle ends, this candle starts. Every single one of these is in January. Just look at the time date below on the dotted line, going straight down. And they all went up in January. They all went up in January, but they just never got higher than that previous candle. This one went up as well, but it didn't get higher than this. This one went up as well a little bit. You can see that little wick there, but it didn't get higher than this. And this one is going up as well. It's green. I mean, this candle ended red. That's the first time. So this is why Chad may be right. And this time could be different because this is the first time this candle ended red in history. So normally, but normally it would end green and this candle would be red. This candle goes up a little bit and this candle could still get red because obviously we're still brand new. Let me just hide these. Let me just hide all these lines for a second here. This candle right here is only green because it went up higher than where this candle has ended. This candle is only red because it came down lower than where this candle ended. This candle needed to stay above 94K in order for it to remain green, but it came down and closed at like 88K. And this candle started, and this candle has gone up since. But in history, if you look at all these red candles here, they never went up higher than that previous candle. So that means this candle could go up to 102, 103, 105, 110, 115, 120, and still come back down and turn red. And we could still go into a bear market, which would mean that it still didn't get higher than this one, which is 126. Or this time could really be different. And it could just be a blow off top. We go all the way up to 150, 160, 170, which would be the first time that ever happened in January after a bull market cycle ended on December 31st. That would be the first. Now, can first times happen? Yes. In fact, you can't have a second, third, fourth, or fifth without a first. So the things that just because they haven't happened before doesn't mean they cannot happen, obviously. So with all that being said, let's go back and look at what I was just showing you a minute ago with the death cross. By the way, I was on the 2-week time frame, because on the weekly, whoops, what was I on? I can't remember. I was on the 2-day. I'm sorry, 2-day, not 2-week, 2-day. So on the 2-day time frame, we are on our way back up. If I go to the daily, we've already crossed above the green line and we're holding as support. The cross right here, death cross, happened already. Of course, we did drop on the daily. And a lot of times, and if you just go out and look through history, green line cross, we usually come back up to it. The daily is not the best representative. That's why I do the 2-day. So on the 2-day, where is it? Oh. We seem to come back below it and come back up to both of them before dropping. So that's possibly what can happen here. Come back up and retest, get above the green, hold a support, and get up to the red. Come back up, death cross right here, come back down, come back up, and touch the green. So, but all the times that I've looked here, as soon as that, I mean, we're coming down below them both before the cross happens. But when the cross happens, it's usually a big dump down, and then we come back up to retest before dropping. Cross, as soon as the cross happens, it's the biggest drop, and then we come back up to retest. So let's just see if that's happened here. Came down below them both. Cross happened right here. It wasn't the biggest drop. We have the biggest drop right here, right before the cross. And it is coming back up towards them. The cross just happened. So now let's look at some of the other indicators. Look at this. Remember what we were talking about? Coming back up above this. I have this circle here because that's what I'm expecting it to come back up and hit this. Now that's on the 2 days. Let me go to the weekly because that's probably more accurate. On the stochastic RSI. Not probably, it is. So right down here, we got the blue line getting ready to cross over the dotted line here. It already crossed the orange line to the upside. We do got 2 days and 7 hours left of this time frame before we'll really know. And then on the RSI, it's kind of still floundering down here. Didn't cross yet, but it's close. And it is coming up towards the yellow line, which is the moving average. What we're wanting to happen here is something very similar to back here. Is it came down below this line and it came back up and then crossed back above it right here. And that is where it popped up and created another lower low. And on the price, you can see what happened. We dropped down and then came back up for another run for it, but we did not make a higher high. So in this instance, as you can see here, that was a pretty solid head and shoulder. Which ended up dropping. That was the beginning of a bear market. But it did try to get back up. It did come back above the floor here and it did try, just did not make a higher high. Bearish divergence continues. Same thing kind of happening here. Now, just because it looks the same as before does not mean that things can't be different. I have to say that because, we're in crazy times right now. You know, whenever you think something's going to happen, sometimes the opposite happens sometimes, but I don't go by that. I don't just say, oh, just because this time can be different, that it's different. I still have to look at all the indicators. I still look at all the charts. I still try to determine what's the most likely thing to happen. And based on if it wasn't for the Clarity Act, if it wasn't for the government doing all the things that they're doing, and it wasn't for maybe crypto, for the financial services industries to switch over to blockchain technology, if it wasn't for all the things that are in place, I would say that bear market is we're basically going to crash, and that we're going to have a stock market crash and everything's going down. That's probably what I would say, just based on history, just based on the charts. But we already had a 40% drop from the top, 126 down to here, down to 80. And this is a stereotypical bear flag forming right here, which, I mean, what do bear flags normally do?
Break to the downside.
Even if they come up high. So, I mean, I'm not trying to be bearish. I'm not trying to be negative by any means, guys. I'm just showing you all the things that the charts are showing me. So even if we do pump way up to the top of this bear flag and get up here to the 102, 105 level, it doesn't mean, look at this one. Boom, way up here. I mean, this was the top, 68K, dropped all the way down to 34,000. Let's just do a little bit of price range here. 50% drop, boom, and then pumped all the way back up to 48K before coming back down to the bottom of the bear flag, before breaking the overall upward trending. Let me get rid of this so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Before breaking that overall upward trending support. I can even get rid of the bottom of that bear flag, because that really was the bottom of the bear flag, that upward trending support. And then dropping another, oh God. Another 58%. What would that be like here? We already dropped 40 some percent down to 80K. That was 36%. And if for whatever reason, by the way, something very similar looking here, upward trending, very similar. I'm going to change that to white so you can see it, just like the other one. Bear flag happening right at the same time, guys. I mean, back in January, this is happening the same exact time of the bull market cycle. It's looking identical, actually. And I could even take that original line, that original supporting line, and bring it right up to here, and it's the same line. I mean, coincidences, or like, what? I mean, is that a coincidence? It's the same support line. It's so now. Could this time be different is the question. And yes, this is the only time I'm ever going to say that. I used to be the kind of person that laughed at everyone and says this time is different, because they said it every time. They said it in every bull market. This time is different though. And it just never was. But this time really could be different, because in all the previous bull markets, most of the people didn't give a shit about crypto. And back here, very few people were paying attention to anything. Now, it's like mainstream mass adoption happening. Presidents of the United States are all for it, changing laws, enacting, legislation towards it, wanting to build a Bitcoin reserve for the US dollar, wanting to, possibly have Ripple and XRP as the clearinghouse for all financial services industries, banking and, stocks, settlement of everything, basically behind the scenes. And not just XRP, but there's other ones. There's Ethereum, there's, XLM and HBAR and all kinds of other ones being used for that purpose. If XRP does make it to $1,000 someday, then I'm sure H bar and XLM will be up there in the 100 to 500 range probably someday.
Nico.
Yes.
Okay, I have a question. I'm not sure if I'm asking it right, but I know you don't have a crystal ball. But in your opinion, should we be, you know, that where you were gonna call the gosh, I'm so the bear market top, could we go ahead and short like for the all year, riding it all year in a sub account now, or should we hold off on that?
Well, if that would, I would have to be very confident in that direction for me to tell you to do that. And I'm not, because this time could be different. This is why I'm saying what I'm saying, because there's some things that are happening that could make this time different. And so when will we see that? Well, I guess we'll 5 more days or so. We got the Clarity Act. I think January 15th. I'm not sure. Something happened today on the 9th. Something's happening today. But I think that we will know soon. But one thing I did say is that 70K right here, this red line right here, 70K. If we do ever get below that, then yeah, bear market is in. Because there's still a chance that we actually break to the downside of this whole structure that I'm talking about right now. And bounce at 70K and hold above this major previous resistance, previous bull market top. When we broke the previous bull market top here at 73 and coming down and holding above that, that would have to happen. And there's also something about the pi cycle indicators that are, let me just go and put that back up here. What do I have? Let me get rid of this. I thought I had it up here. That has shown the top of every bull market, and they're not even close. So as you can see, high cycle tops. Where are the lines? Why is it not showing? Anyway, pi cycle has shown the tops every time, and this time it's not. This time the lines are far away. This time this time the pi cycle cross tops. It's not showing the lines right now. I guess probably because I have too many other lines going on. Maybe
I think you have to be on a specific chart to see the lines. Give me a minute.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure it out.
I'm not sure why, but anyway, the long story short is, guys, is whenever you see this little flag right here and you scroll down and you look straight down to where the flag is, there's a cross of the pi cycle lines. And here they're very far away still. So if you're looking at just pi cycle, which has been accurate every single time throughout history, if you're looking at that, then we haven't hit a top yet. Then it's possible that the top is not in. It's possible that we do have that major pump to the upside to 140, 150, 160 and hit the 1.6 on the fib, like I was just talking about, maybe even the 2.3. And then somewhere over here, April, May, June, the pi cycle would then cross. Maybe. So that could be different. So Angie, it's hard for me to Yep, for sure. Go short just in case. No, I mean, I don't even do that. I mean, I'm not doing that. Until we break certain things. Like if we break down from here, and let me just hide this for a second. That's the EMA ribbon. Let me hide the pi cycle. I mean, there's some things that have to happen in order for me to feel confident that we are heading in that direction. And what will happen to XRP if Bitcoin does dump and it is over for Bitcoin? And when I say over, I just mean the cycle. I don't mean over. I think Bitcoin will, this could be the bottom. We could have a 40-50% drop instead of a 70-80% drop. Historically, every bull market dropped all the way down. The bear market bottom was 77% on average. This one was 83%. This one was 87% historically. And we're at 40, 38, 36, 37% right now. And
We
here
can also
Go ahead.
throw in the new Fed chair dropping interest rates to 1% in March, April.
Yeah, I could definitely change some things. But here, even if you just look at the last one, down to where we are right now, here is 44%, which is about where we are right now. It's like 36 or 38%.
I figured it out, Nico.
Which one is it?
So you need to go to BLX. Look for BLX in the search. Right. Yeah, that one. BLX. In crypto. That's right. This is the Bitcoin Liquid Index, BLX. And then you need to be on the 1 week chart. Just I don't know if it came up.
I already had this all marked up at one point.
Right. BLX.
Oh, geez. No, you just said that.
And then the 1 week chart. And then inside the indicator, you have to turn on the moving averages. Inside the inputs, show moving average.
I don't see BLX.
Wonder if I can
Is it
send you
futures or crypto?
It's crypto. All I typed in was BLX and nothing else. Just BLNX. There it is.
There we go.
And then I think you have your moving averages off. So you might need to go into the indicator
Yeah,
itself.
because they have the golden cross on.
Right. So you go into the indicator itself and show moving averages.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yep.
so here's the cross right here. Green line and red line cross right there. Boom. And as you can see, it indicates right where they cross. Cross right there. And it's always the top. It's always when we wicked up to the top. And here, they're not even close to crossing. The lines didn't even come, they came closest here, but they didn't cross. And here they're even further away. And so maybe somewhere over here, the red line would have to come up and the green line, they're all going up at the same time. So maybe somewhere at the end of the year, I mean, it would take the rest of this year for that to happen. But throughout history, it's always happened exactly that way every single time. So, when you look at these indicators, do they mean anything? Yeah, they do, kind of. I mean, especially when they're accurate to a 100% accuracy level, then you have to look at it. So, but could this time be different? Yeah. Or maybe we're like, maybe right here, what we think is a bull market top, and then we could come all the way down to, let's say, 70K hypothetical, which would be right here. Let's just say that happened. And bounced. Would that really be any different? So we came all the way down and wicked through that and bounced. Would that be any different than this huge pullback right here before climbing up higher? This one, this one, this one. This was an all-time high. We were way higher than the previous bull market top. And this pullback right here may not seem like a lot. 38%, exactly what we pulled back so far. %40 right there. Boom. All of these were huge pullbacks. They don't look like it compared in comparison, but big. Look at this one. Look at this one. That was the top, but I mean, this pullback is huge. So it's hard. It's so, you know, it's a challenge to sometimes look at all of these possible scenarios and say, yeah, but this time is different. And it's hard to know.
Brief comment.
Say again.
A brief comment, just in case people are trying to duplicate what you're doing. You're on the log scale, so
Yeah.
It's which is very helpful. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you, Nico, for the answer. I understand. I just trying to stay ahead of the game, but it really doesn't
Yeah.
matter if we go up or down. We're going to make money either way, and I don't care which way it goes. Really, I'm just trying to stay ahead.
Well, I mean, in a perfect world, we would call the top and we write it all the way down to the bottom, and then call the bottom and write it all the way up to the top. That sounds great. And you know, there always is a top and a bottom, generally, at least there has been so far. So it would make sense to want to know where it is, and so that you can take advantage of it. But that's the tricky part. That's the crystal ball question usually is, even if 126 was the top, even if it is the top, we don't know that it is yet until something else happens. Like, for instance, let me go back to just regular Bitcoin here. Even when this was the top back here in 2013, get rid of the pi cycle as well. So you can see this wick right here was the top, but we didn't know it until it came all the way down to here, December 31st, boom, next candle opened. And once that happened, then, and I was saying even this time, once this next candle opens, whatever the top of this candle was probably the top. This candle went all the way up to 19,423, came all the way down to 14,000 before the next candle opened. Turned out that was the top, but you wouldn't have known it until weeks later. And then January 1st happened. And even when January 1st happened, the price was going up. You see the wick, it was going up. So you're like, oh no, is this going to be the time where this time is different? It turned out not to be. It didn't get higher, and then it came back down and went to a bear market. Just right here. Very similar. So just because something's been doing something always, so you can take a guess and you can say, well, since it's happened every time before, it's going to happen this time. Here's the top of 2021, 68K. We came all the way down to 46K. Next candle opened, went up a little bit, but never made it higher than that one. And that was again the bear market. So if you just look at history, then it's fair to say that 126 is the top, because even if this candle right now that we're in goes up, even if this green candle does go up a little bit, it's not going to get higher than this one. If you're really sure that this is going to play out the same way it always has, this candle goes up a little bit, never gets higher than this one. This candle goes up a little bit, never gets higher than this one. This candle goes up a little bit, never gets higher than this one. This candle could go up a little bit and probably won't get higher than this one. If history repeats itself, then yeah, it would be safe to short right now and just write it down. if we knew for sure that that was the case. So far, it has been. But there is something that is different this time. This candle closed red, whereas that would be the same as this one, and this one. They all always closed green, and that was the end of the bull market. This one closed red, so this time is different. There is something different. I don't know what it is yet, but something's different. But let's look at all the things that are different, all the catalysts that should be making this time different. And that's everything I just talked about a minute ago, which is all of the positive mass adoption in the world towards crypto. And so this could end bull market, bear market cycles as we know it. And instead of having a 70, 80% drop like we always have, maybe this was the drop. Boom. And now we're ready to climb back up already. And maybe the cycles, instead of being 4 years, they're just, 1 year now. But it's too soon to say that that's the case, because we would have to see that change take place. And only hindsight will let us know for sure, right? So we'll have to see what happens at the end of the year and look back and say, oh, yeah, that was true. This time was different. Price went up. The January candle, unlike in history, instead of going down, it went up and we made a higher high. But we will not know that right now. The only thing I can tell you, Angie, and everyone else, is that one way I will know that the bull market top is in at 126 is if this candle drops and we get below 70. Why 70? Because 70 was the major resistance of the previous bull market top. I mean, 68K, we hit it here and broke through, and then coming back down. And if we got below that level, I would say that it's a pretty good odds that we are going to dump and make up the other half of that 40% drop. And that would bring us, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you want to look at it, if we were to drop 77K, which is the average of the last 3 bull markets prior, that would bring us right to $33,000 on Bitcoin. And that would be good. It's not good for everybody who bought at 100K and are holding and waiting for that, $1 million Bitcoin, but it's good for dollar cost averaging. It's good for buying more at a lower price. And let's say you did buy one Bitcoin at 100K. If you were able to buy another one at 30K, what would that do for you? It would be 100,000 for one Bitcoin plus 30,000 for another Bitcoin. That means you have 130,000 invested divided by 2. Your average purchase price is 65K per Bitcoin. That's pretty damn good, dollar cost averaging. Because if Bitcoin does get to the 650, 750, $800 million zone, now you got 2 of them at a much lower price. But if you just buy one at 100K and you wait for the price to go all the way down to 30 and then come all the way back up to 100 before you break even and get back in profit, then you kind of wasted all of that opportunity right there. And that's what most people do. They hodl and they're just waiting for that long-term payoff. They're waiting for Bitcoin to get to $1 million and they're willing to ride the roller coaster up and down. Nothing wrong with that hodl, especially if you got other things to do in your life and you just want to invest in something and hold on for dear life forever. And maybe, I don't know. I mean, as far as I remember, we don't live forever. And there might be some of you that are doing your best to extend your life and, and be healthy and all that stuff. And you might be not even doing this for yourself. Maybe you're doing it for your children, your grandchildren, whatever. But I mean, there's a good argument to say that you could make a lot more Bitcoin than just holding that one by understanding how to accumulate more on the way down. And not only that, but if we did drop down to 30K, guys, I will then be very positive, Angie, to say we're at the bottom. And I will be very positive to tell you to go long. And by the time it gets back up to 100K, let's just do some quick math. If it were to get down that low and then get right back up to 100, that would be a 204% move back to the upside. from 33K, let's just say from 30K back up to 100, 228%. If you were able to buy a whole Bitcoin at 30K, just for the sake of this example, and you actually put it in your trading account and went long at 10x leverage, hypothetical again, maybe you wouldn't do that, but that would be $30,000 Bitcoin times 228%. You just doubled the value of it, but you still only have one Bitcoin. If you bought one here and just sat on it, when it got back to 100K, your increased value would be 68,000. If you sold it, that's what you would be profiting. But, you know, if you went long with that 30K at 10x leverage, then you would have $684,000 worth of Bitcoin when Bitcoin got to 100K. And if you take that and divide it by the 100K, you would have 6.84 Bitcoin. That's a little bit better than buying one Bitcoin at 100K and waiting for it to go all the way down to 30, waiting for it to come all the way back up to 100, and then waiting for years for it to go all the way back up to 250, 350, 400,000. So this is why we learn to trade. This is why we try to understand this stuff, guys, because it's how you collapse time. It's how you use what we coined as the crypto wormhole to collapse. Now, this is a perfect world. Obviously, you would have to do exactly what I just said at the exact same time with the exact same amount of money that I was just talking about for that to work out. But that's exactly what would happen if you did. And it's mathematical. It's not pie in the sky. It's what would be the case if you actually went long with $30,000 right here at 10x leverage. That's exactly what would happen. If Bitcoin got back up to 100 grand, you would have increased your holdings by 6.84 Bitcoin. On a Bitcoin margin, that is. If you're on a USDT margin, you would just have earned $600,000 worth of USDT. Not bad. Either way, not shabby. You could always convert that to Bitcoin if you wanted to. Or you can just take it out. But timing this is a different story. Knowing exactly when to do this. So some of you aren't going to get in exactly the bottom. Some of you aren't going to have 30 grand. Some of you aren't going to use 10x leverage. So all of these variations and variables would have to be adjusted to exactly what you did. But I'll give you just one other quick example. So let's say you did what I just said, but instead of 30 grand, you only had 2 grand worth of Bitcoin, and it went up 228% back up to 100 grand times 228%. That's $4,560. You just doubled your holdings pretty much, 2.28. And then let's say you did that, but instead of 10x leverage, you did that at 25x leverage because, hey, what the hell? It's only 2 grand you're risking. So you just made 114 grand from your 2 grand on that same exact move I just said. Now you have a whole Bitcoin, give or take 14 grand. Starting with 2. So there's all kinds of ways to slice this up, guys, depending on what the amount of money you have and what your risk tolerance is. And some of you just joined Crypto Renegades at what could be the peak of a bull market cycle. There's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't matter when you get involved. It's the fact that you did, and it doesn't really matter where we are in the market cycles. And it doesn't even matter if there are no more market cycles. But if we were to drop that low, that would be another great opportunity to get in at a much lower price. And Bitcoin, I'm still a big believer in Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin will be $1 million, and maybe even, like Michael Saylor says, maybe even 30 million someday in the future as a hedge. Very few people are going to be able to buy at those prices, except for institutions and big money people like Michael Saylor, who's just piling away millions of dollars a month into it. But it will be, it's some people are like, what is the purpose? Why would anybody even want it all? Because what good is it if you have all of it? No one else has any. Well, I mean, when you have a rare asset, something that there's only so much of it and there will never be more, you can liken it to, let's say, a Rembrandt being sold at Sotheby's auction. There's only 6 of them in the world that are still existing, right? Let's just say. and one goes up for auction for $60 million at Sotheby's, and the hammer drops and someone just pays 60 million for this painting. And you're like, why would anybody pay 60 million for a painting? Well, billionaires do this shit all the time, guys. I saw an auction the other day I was watching. I couldn't believe my eyes. Someone paid 100 million. No, what was it? Yeah, $100 million for a sapphire and diamond necklace. 100 million, just because it was the rarest and finest stone, sapphires or whatever. And there are people out there, guys, with so much money that they're just buying shit like this for hundreds of millions of dollars. So now you might have to say, well, they just have nothing better to do with their money. No, that is the best thing to do with it, because you don't realize what they're actually doing. Okay, let's just say you had a company that you sold for $6 billion, like happens every day in the world. You just don't know it. People are literally selling their companies for billions of dollars every day. New billionaires are popping out every day. Now they have a tax problem when that happens. Okay, they have a tax issue. Their accountants and CPAs are working. Okay, listen, you can either pay $700 million in taxes, or you can invest in some things. What can I invest in? Well, we create a trust over here. You can donate $700 million to the trust, and you're in control of the trust. Instead of giving it to the IRS, it's a donation. It's a gift. And then the trust buys a Rembrandt for 100 million at the auction. And then 10 years later, 5 years later, that Rembrandt comes for sale again, and they sell it for 120 million. They don't make any profit on it because it goes back to the trust, but they're the controllers of the trust. And then they sell a Rembrandt for 120 million 5 years later, and they take that money and they buy a new G5 or G10 jet for the trust, which the founder of the trust gets to fly on for free because he's the manager of the trust. And this is how rich people just continue to get richer and preserve their wealth. It's the money game, yes, but art is very much the same. And so they're doing that with Bitcoin. They're doing that with other asset classes and real estate and things like that. But when you have hundreds of, thousands of apartment buildings, and you've already, hundreds of millions of dollars of real estate, and possibly $10 million in watches and exotic cars and everything else, what else are you going to buy at this point? How many other things have the rich made into the tax code as a potential donation write-off that you might want to buy as a billionaire?
Hey,
So,
Nico, doesn't XRP as well have a finite amount?
I think it's a lot. It's, I think it's like 100 billion.
Yeah.
100 billion, which is Bitcoin's only 21 million, but they are burning XRP every day, a very small amount. I can't remember what it's like, 5,000 or something like that. But so it is a finite amount, but in order for XRP to get up to the same price as Bitcoin, $100,000 per XRP, you have to ask, is that even possible? What would the market cap have to be? It would have to be probably all the money in the world. $100 trillion, let's just say. And yes, that's even still possible. Because if it is settling all the transactions of the world, if XRP got to the point where it was the chosen, blockchain settlement token, then it would have to, the market cap would have to be up there high enough to cover all the transactions of the world, and the price would probably have to be up that high in order to handle it. But
I just want it to go to 100.
Right. So, and I think, when you look at it that way, even if it only gets 5% of the entire, just like I say with Bitcoin, if Bitcoin just got to 5% of the entire investing world's holdings, in other words, 5% of the entire investing world, people who have stocks, bonds, mutual funds, 401ks, gold, silver, annuities, insurance, all these different investment vehicles. If 5% of all that money also went into Bitcoin, Bitcoin would have a market cap equal to gold, which would be like 20 trillion. And Bitcoin right now would be a couple $1 million per Bitcoin. So it is inevitable that it gets there. It will get there. That's a time issue, not if, it's probably when. as more and more people start to hold it and invest in it. And by the way, is that happening? Yes. Hundreds of thousands of wallets are coming online every week, every month. New people getting into crypto every day, every week, every month, starting to buy and hold these assets. I mean, it reminds me almost of the internet. It reminds me of Facebook back in the day when Mark Zuckerberg was fooling around at his college, and he just created a platform for his college buddies to all kind of meet on called Facebook. And then it grew to thousands of people from, his college. And then it grew to 1 million people in his town and city. And then he got an offer from Google, I believe, to buy it for $1 billion when it had 1 million people. Did you think Mark Zuckerberg ever thought that there would be 100 times more people after that? Like 1 billion or 2 billion or 3 billion? Because now I think it's up to almost 3 billion, which is half of the entire world's population has a Facebook account. And it's not, and yeah, it's half the world's population, but it's probably 100% of the people that have internet access. And believe it or not, half of the world's population does not. There's half the world, guys and gals, that not only do not even have internet access, but they don't have cell phones and they barely have food. That's the sad truth of the world. But you got billions of people in India, billions of people in China and Africa that are impoverished. And so when you look at it that way, what is the likelihood of these things getting to this price point? I think it's an inevitability. It's just a matter of time. But yeah, like Pat just said, if XRP gets to $100, I think that's more short term. I think and I think that can happen relatively quickly. I mean, Bitcoin, when we go back and look, Bitcoin had the same issue right here. Right here, Bitcoin. This is Bitcoin. Bitcoin was $1.90 right here. And this is the monthly chart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 months. Went up to $12 in a year. And then 1, 2, 3, 4 months, it went up to $263 in 4 months from $16. And then from there, it went up to $1,224 in just 1, 2, 3, 4 more months. So don't think it can't happen. Imagine XRP going from $1.90 right here to $1,200 in a matter of a year and a half.
You know what I wanted to ask you about too is the rise of like Solana, because it was way down there too, and then it shot up. It's like 137 now, but that was in the basement too, and then that was like kind of an overnight thing or more gradual.
Yeah. And Solana didn't have the same problems. XRP, while this was all happening, guys, XRP existed right here. XRP existed back here in 2013, but it was throttled. It was probably manipulated and throttled and held down and dragged through the SEC. That was probably all intentional. It was all probably done by design because they knew even back then what it was going to be used for. But they didn't want the masses buying it, and they certainly didn't want people to think it was going to go up in value. So they created a lawsuit, strapped it down, delisted it from centralized exchanges. Now, this is conspiracy theory, but makes sense to me why they would do that, because they don't want it to be $100,000 before all the institutions and the banks start to play with it. They want it to be still down at $1.90 so that only the very few retail people who are smart enough to hold it this whole time will benefit. Very few. The rest of the people got out and think that it's a dud and it's not going anywhere. But meanwhile, during this whole period of time, while Bitcoin had its day in the sun, XRP was preparing for what it's about to do. Ripple has been around for a long time, guys. In fact, probably the people who created it are the same people, probably, who were behind Bitcoin.
Isn't there a huge market cap difference though?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, there's 100 billion, or was it 100 billion? Yeah, 100 billion XRP compared to 21 million Bitcoin. But Bitcoin's not going to be used for anything other than a store of wealth, whereas XRP might be the settlement, back end settlement of every transaction that ever takes place in the world.
For
It could.
XRP to get to 100, what would the market cap have to? It would have to go to like something trillion, right? It would have to go to
Yeah,
like
probably.
100 trillion.
That could happen in an instant if all of a sudden the switch gets turned on and hundreds of billions of dollars worth of institutional money comes pouring into the ETFs. BlackRock's about to launch their ETF. So $1 trillion market cap. I mean, Bitcoin's at 2 trillion right now. What is Bitcoin at? 2 trillion?
Wow.
I think that could happen relatively quickly, depending on what it's used for. But compared to Bitcoin, I don't even think there's any comparison. You send me Bitcoin, I send you Bitcoin, takes 20 minutes for you to get it. You try to buy something at a store with Bitcoin, coffee at the coffee shop, and they're accepting it, let's just say, you got to sit there for 20 minutes and wait for them to receive it before you can walk out. XRP, I send you XRP, you will have it in your wallet before I can even ask you if you got it. I mean, it's lightning fast in comparison. The technology is superior. It's going to be used for something, whereas Bitcoin may not be. Bitcoin might just be it's like gold, really. But the difference is with gold is a great store of wealth, but it can also be used as jewelry. And that's the majority of what it's used for. Jewelry. So I think Bitcoin is going to 1 million, but I wouldn't doubt that XRP gets to 1,000, 10,000. Yeah. There's people out there that can explain it much better than me as to why, or how the market cap can get that high. Let me see. I might even have a great video of it. Hold on one second.
Hey, Nico, at 10,000, whose jet we taking? Yours or mine?
Well, we can all take our own jets and meet. $1,000 easily, jet material for sure.
So $1 trillion market cap for XRP would put the price at $16. So a $10 trillion market cap would put the price at 160.
I'm sorry, say that one more time, Cody.
Yeah, so a 10 or $1 trillion market cap. So if XRP grows to $1 trillion market cap from 100 and what's it at 128 billion right now, which is totally going to happen. I mean, yeah, XRP would be, it was the number 3 coin back in 2017 when Bitcoin hit 20,000, right?
Yeah.
So $1 trillion market cap is nothing for XRP going forward, which would put it at a $16 XRP.
Yeah. And what's going to happen when it hits $16, guys, is then you're going to have not only institutions, but you're going to have the masses, you're going to have the retail market come in. And not only that, but I think a judge just said that, I can't remember what the exact legal battle was or problem was, but there was some judge that said that institutions can't buy just from over the counter. They're gonna have to buy from the retail market, which once this Clarity Act passes, guys, it's going to be a different story. I think that all of these institutions are already ready and in line to do this. They're just waiting for the go ahead. They're waiting for the final approval. And then you're just going to see, it is going to be, I know it's hard to believe. It's even hard for me to believe, but it is going to be one of those situations where you're just going to wake up one day and you're going to see a huge candle and it's going to be like $8. And then maybe a couple days later, it's going to be 12. I mean, just like what I was just showing with Bitcoin, within 4 months, it went from $1.90 to $260. That happened very quickly. Those were monthly candles. Watch this.
XRP, because Ripple's the chosen one to be the new global digital payment system, and they use XRP. In 2013, the Federal Reserve began looking for faster payments options. 2 years later, an action plan was born and a federal payments task force was created. It included one company focused on crypto, Ripple. In 2014, the World Bank and Better Than Cash Alliance, which includes the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Clinton Global Initiative, and the governments of 32 countries, put out a report called The Opportunities of Digitizing Payments. 1 year later, the Better Than Cash Alliance featured one crypto company on their website, Ripple. Today, Better Than Cash Alliance and all other UN initiatives are focused on a single agenda, the Sustainable Development Goals for 2030. You can see the SDGs logo on Bill Gates' lapel, world-leading companies, the Better Than Cash Alliance website, and on the UN's official exchange, Exchange. What crypto is Exchange officially utilizing for their carbon credit solution? XRP. The world will move to a new international standard for exchanging electronic messages between financial institutions by 2025 called ISO 20022. Who was the first ISO 20022 member focused on distributed ledger technology? Ripple. Who's partnered with over 300 financial institutions, including Bank of America, American Express, BNC, Santander, SBI, HSBC, Standard Chartered Bank, Bank of England, India, Singapore, Scotland, Australia, Indonesia, the largest banks in Japan, Canada, Egypt, the Middle East, United Arab Emirates, Thailand, Morocco, Bhutan, South Korea, Brazil, and Latin America? Ripple. Who was a former employee overseeing the Federal Reserve? Ripple. A former employee overseeing the world's largest asset manager, BlackRock's digital asset division? Ripple. Leading Australia's CBDC effort? Ripple. Who hired a former Treasury of the United States? Ripple. 2 former Federal Reserve attorneys to their board? Ripple. 2 former Clinton and Obama advisors, former Minister of Defense and Economics of Germany, former business director at Swift, former Swift board member, former CFO of PayPal, former head of the DTCC, former chief business officer at Uber, former VP of Amazon, and former SEC chairman of the legal team? Ripple. Who's a member of the Digital Pound Foundation, Digital Power Project, Digital Euro Association, Roach, the IMF's high-level advisory board on fintech, Hyperledger Blockchain Consortium, Open Payments Coalition, Faster Payments Council, Global Payments Steering Group, Cross-Border Working Group, International Association for Trusted Blockchain Applications, the Climate Accord, University Blockchain Initiative, World Wide Web Consortium, and a featured partner of the World Economic Forum with 3 members of their team directly listed on the WF website. Ripple. XRP.
So yeah, listen, there's some of those foundations and organizations that I don't agree with. World Economic Forum and Bill Gates. I can't stand those organizations, those people. But what is behind the global shift? What is going to be behind the actual change that's happening around the world going to digital currency? And I don't give a shit. I mean, I do care that those agencies are, you know, trying to control the world, but this is still the only opportunity that I know of where we, the average people, can front run the governments and the institutions. And actually,
could you share that link? Could you share that link, Nico? Someone asked, and I'd love to have it.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Now, you know, all those things are true, and all of those things have been talked about, but not on mainstream media, not on the mainstream news. Now, CNBC and CNN have talked about some of those things. They have been saying that, you know, Ripple and XRP are now the second or third, you know, crypto, you know, behind Bitcoin, things like that. And they are talking about it more recently, but over the last 5 years or so, no, they're keeping it quiet. Why? Because they don't want the masses to jump in and cause the price to go up. They want to be able to do, in my opinion, guys, this is my opinion, this is all being artificially suppressed. Artificially suppressed. So let me see, is that a Facebook reel? I'll share that, guys. So yeah, so I would say don't worry so much about the current price. Yes, we're trying to go long. Yes, we're trying to go short. Yes, we're trying to scout these little moves, but That's not the big play, guys. That's just, I mean, if you time it right, it can be great, right? If you go along with 1,000 XRP at 10x leverage and you just happen to catch the bottom before it pumps up to $7, $8, holy cow, you can make a small fortune, right? You can make extra thousands of XRP. And, but it's not easy. That's not easy to do by any means. Let me see if I can, I just put that in the chat for everybody if you want. So the keys are with original hot. Well, I'm just reading some of the questions and comments. Those are different questions. John, I'm not sure what hot wallet. Oh, Trust Wallet. Yeah, I don't use Trust Wallet, but I just use Coinbase or crypto.com or something like that. Send it over. You can also, if you have XRP, I'm sorry, if you have USDT or Bitcoin in your Phemex wallet, you can convert that to XRP inside of Phemex for like nothing. Not even sure what the fees are, but they're low.
Hey, question on that. This is John. When I initially set up my keys and I change it to a different wallet, do the new keys exist on the new wallet or the key from the old wallet exist on those coins? Do you know?
It doesn't work quite like that. If you buy the tokens on Coinbase, if you buy XRP on Coinbase, the only keys you need to worry about are your Coinbase keys. If you transfer that XRP to a wallet, a hot wallet, or another exchange, or a cold wallet like Descent, well, the hot wallets, again, it's just like Coinbase. You do not need the keys, but your Descent wallet, you need the keys because it's a cold wallet. It's a difference between hot and cold wallets.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. When you say wallet, what are you referring to? You talking about a centralized exchange or an actual cold wallet?
I don't have a cold wallet.
Do you mind sharing where, is it Coinbase? Is it XRP? Is it crypto.com or something like that? You don't have to say which one if you don't want to, but
I use Trust and then Phemex.
Trust Wallet.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you can buy on Trust Wallet. Did you send it to Trust Wallet from somewhere else?
I've bought stuff on Trust Wallet, and then I was trying to buy XRP the other day, and they had crazy fees stacked on top of it. Like, it was trading about where it is now. And they wanted, basically it was 210 and they wanted to sell it to me for 220.
Yeah, I think because you got to use like the Ethereum network in order to buy.
Well, I can attach a credit card and it goes through MoonPay or Alexa or whoever.
Yeah, that is true. I don't use Trust Wallet. I don't like Trust Wallet. Nothing wrong with it. People do use it. And
how do you get the cash in?
I don't. I personally.
I know you're well funded. I get it.
No, I use Coinbase. I'm sorry. No, I personally use Coinbase. I've been using Coinbase since 2013, since they started. I don't have a problem with Coinbase. Some people do because it's centralized and you got a KYC. But I've already been well into the whole KYC thing for a long time. I don't overly worry about that stuff. I'm not trying to hide anything from anybody. I'm kind of a public figure in the crypto space. So I do everything by the book, and the way the laws are, I just have to comply, and I don't recommend anybody do anything any other way, but you're welcome to. We do say that, on a decentralized platform, no one really knows. If you start out with $5,000 over in Phemex and you turn that into a $10 million, nobody's going to know that you have that, but you. And so you want to divulge that information to somebody or report it, that's up to you. I'm not telling people what to do there, but I'm just telling you, I do. I'm KYC, but I've had no problems with Coinbase. They have credit cards, debit cards, they loan money. You can borrow against your crypto. It's a centralized exchange, and it is one of the most powerful and strongest ones right now. It is a publicly traded company on the New York Stock Exchange. So now that doesn't mean any, some people will say, yeah, but not your keys, not your crypto, which means that Coinbase has the keys. They have the seed phrase. You only have your login. You can log in, but you're using their platform and they're the ones in control. Kind of like Chase Bank or Wells Fargo Bank. You put your money in the bank. You have a bunch of checking accounts, savings accounts, CDs, all that kind of stuff. Okay. I've never had a problem. I've never had a bank steal my money, but they could one day close down. You could go to the bank and there could be a sign on the door that says, sorry, closed for till further notice.
Okay,
You
so
go
if
to
I
the-
go to
Go ahead.
if I go to a cold wallet, do I make up my own keys?
Yes. So on a cold wallet, you would create a 24-word seed phrase, and you have to keep that in a safe spot. You're basically becoming the banker, but you do not buy crypto on a cold wallet. Cold wallet is storing it. So you'd have to buy it somewhere else like Coinbase. It could be anywhere. It could be Coinbase. It could be PayPal. I mean, PayPal. It could be Cash App. It could be Kraken, Gemini, Robinhood, crypto.com, wherever you buy crypto on a centralized exchange, and then you would transfer it to your cold wallet.
I actually have a question about that. Can you hear me?
Yes.
You said if you made $10 million on, like, let's say Phemex, right? Since it's decentralized, no one knows that you made the $10 million. But if you transfer that back to Coinbase and then take it out to your bank account to, let's say, buy a property, you would have to claim that as tax, as an income, no?
Yeah. As soon as you change it. I'm sorry. As soon as you transfer it back to a centralized exchange, then the money is now back in the system. And as soon as you sell that back to fiat currency and transfer it to your bank account, there is a paper trail of all that now. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. That's what I
now,
thought.
how is there a way around all that? Sure. Let's just say if the person that you're buying the property from is willing to accept your XRP or your Bitcoin, you could certainly transfer it right from Phemex or from your cold storage wallet. Now, that doesn't mean there's not going to be a paper trail, because if you're taking title or a deed to something, that's going to be registered. There's going to be a form showing some way that you paid for that, right? Doesn't mean it won't be a taxable event, but it could be done in a trust, whereas the trust doesn't pay the taxes and you're just the manager of the trust. There are ways around it. When I say around it, I don't mean illegally. I mean legal ways around it, but you just have to be set up to do all that. I mean, ideally, you would, let's just say you did have $10 million in Phemex. What you would then do is, instead of having an account at Coinbase in your personal name, you would then set up a business account, which you can do on Phemex as well. Set up a business account in a corporate name using an entity. Now, you do have to KYC to do this. So you would have to provide them with your entity structure number, your tax ID number, and all that stuff, just like you normally would. But now you have your holdings, and then what do you do? Or you could also have it in a cold storage wallet, let's just say. Then you would sell your cold storage wallet. You would sell your decent device to the trust or the entity you just set up for the value of the crypto when you bought it, not what the current value is. So let's say you bought $100,000 worth of Bitcoin. Bitcoin went up to $10 million. You sell the device that holds the Bitcoin for $100,000 to your trust. Okay. You pay tax on that sale.
Yeah.
But you now have $10 million worth of Bitcoin sitting in there. Now what? How do you get it back into cash? Well, then you transfer it to your business account at Coinbase, and you sell it and withdraw it to your business account at Chase Bank. Okay. Now it's done differently. Now you're in the corporate realm, and yes, it is inside the system. It's still all being exposed. It's still KYC. It's still everybody knows, but you now have much different tax advantages that you can take advantage of.
Now, what if I never sold it out of Coinbase and I just, let's say, had $10 million in Phemex and said, okay, I want to move it over to Coinbase. I feel like it's safer, blah, blah, whatever. And I bring it to Coinbase and I say, okay, this is going to be my long-term hold on XRP, for example. If it goes,
you
right?
borrow against it. Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah, that's my next question. So you can keep it in Coinbase, not take it out to get taxed on it as taxable income, and then borrow on top of your assets in Coinbase, correct?
Yeah, it would be non-taxable. I mean, there could be some question as to where the Bitcoin came from, but if it was the original Bitcoin you bought, let's say you bought $1,000 worth of Bitcoin on Coinbase and then transfer that out, and then 2 years later you transfer back 10 million. Okay,
Bill, you're right.
That's still unrealized gain, right? So it is a gain, but it's unrealized. So you're not taxed on unrealized gain, right? You're only taxed when you sell it and realize the gain. So if you sell the Bitcoin at 10 million, that's technically a taxable event. But if you borrow against it at that point, then I would say, I'm not a tax attorney at the moment. At the moment, I'm never going to be a tax attorney. I shouldn't say that, but I'm not a tax attorney. But I have obviously spoken to many that at that point it's still non-taxable because you haven't taken the profit, you haven't cashed out. Because if you hold that $10 million of Bitcoin, let's say Bitcoin goes back down to zero after that. Should you be taxed on that? No. I mean, that's just, that's a loss. If you bought $1,000 with a Bitcoin and 5 years later you deposit back, you transfer it out, and then 5 years later you put back $300 with a Bitcoin, you can write that off as a loss if you sell that. So yeah, as long as you're not converting it back to USD fiat currency and taking profit, then you're not, I don't think it's a capital gains at that point.
Appreciate it.
Borrow against it. But I mean, I would say talk to a tax expert, but most of them don't even understand the crypto tax code. So you have to make sure you're talking to the right people. But there are people out there. I think we've shared them in this group a few times. There is a guy out there, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but I'll find it. And they talk about how to set up the right structures in order to minimize your tax liability. And when I say minimize, I mean down to almost nothing if done properly.
And Bill's correct. Like, make the money first, figure out the parasites later. But it gets a little, like, say I make $100,000 this year doing this, but I claim 15,000. My health insurance, health insurance is going to bump if I say I am making $100,000 a year and I do take it out of Coinbase. So I'm not necessarily talking in $10 million. I'm more talking in a smaller form, but it affects a lot of things. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not for nothing, but if you got $10 million of Bitcoin, I would cancel your health insurance.
Amen.
That's a scam by itself. But do you know, I mean, a doctor, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but if you're just going in for emergency services, let's say you got a broken leg or a laceration and you go into the emergency room and you don't have any insurance, are they going to treat you? Yes, they're not going to deny you emergency services if you don't have insurance. What happens after that is they bill you, right? How often does that happen in your life when you have to go in for emergency services? I mean, I have in my life gone to the emergency room before, but how often? Is that something you should pay health insurance for every month? Hundreds of dollars, and some of you guys $800, $1,000 a month every month. And then, so you got $12,000 a year in insurance premiums, let's just say, and then you haven't gone to the emergency room in like 5 years. And then all of a sudden you get an emergency and you got to go in and they put a cast on your leg. Let's say you break your leg. How much does that cost? I don't know, but is it worth, $120,000 worth of insurance that you paid over the last 10 years? Probably not. And now, okay, that's emergency. What about other things? Disease and cancer treatment, things like that. That could get very expensive. But if you go in and you have some weird ailment and they do a MRI on you and discover you have a big tumor in your brain, are they going to deny you service if you don't have health insurance? If you have some life or death situation, the answer is no.
Nope.
Not. In fact, the cost of the treatment is generally less for those who don't have insurance. Did you know that if you go to the pharmacy and they ask if you have, they always ask you if you have insurance? Try this sometime. Try to say no. If you normally get a prescription and you say you have insurance, it's $14, let's just say, that's your copay, and the normal price is $70. Because you have insurance, you're getting it for 14, so you think you're getting a deal. But if you said you didn't have insurance, it's $20 for the same thing that would have cost $70. They're billing, it's a racket. They're billing the insurance companies the difference, and the pharmacy makes a huge profit on that. So by saying you have insurance, it costs everybody more. And there's more profit for the providers. But I'm not going to go down a rabbit hole here about that. But the point is that When you have money, a lot of money, you become self-insured. That's what most rich people do. They're not getting nickel and dime for that stuff. And then not only that, but obviously if you take care of yourself and you're healthy, then the chances of you needing the chances are is that you will only ever need emergency services. If that were to happen, if there was an emergency, you get a car accident or something like that, that's a different story. But if you're a multimillionaire, then you can pay the bill when it comes. But it's totally up to you. I'm not telling you not to have health insurance, guys. I'm just saying that I paid it for a decade without ever needing it, without ever using it. And then I was like, what am I doing throwing all this money away? And then I learned from some people, some very smart people in the health industry that basically told me how everything works. And I was like, okay, I get it.
I agree with you 100%. The only time I say that maybe you should have health insurance, and however you get it would be if you have some sort of chronic illness that you need medication consistently, or you need constant doctor visits. Otherwise, if you're one of those that you see the doctor every 2 years or 3 years or maybe 5 years because of an accident, or then there's no point in having it.
Yeah. I would even go so far as to say, and some people are going to get mad at me for saying this, but I would say that the reason that you even have chronic illness is because you continue to go to the doctor.
I can see that.
Sorry, doctors, but
Sorry for getting everyone down this rabbit hole.
It happens regularly, man. It's all right.
As we're going down this rabbit hole, Bitcoin's plummeting. So
sorry.
I wanted to mention this right before you got into this topic. You were talking about the banks. I was out in Florida not too long ago, so maybe 2 months ago, and went to my regular bank out there, Bank of America. These guys were clueless on how to wire money from a Bank of America account to a Coinbase. Clueless, extremely clueless.
Yeah.
They looked at me crazy. I was like, what? Had to walk out and just figure it out myself.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why they would be, but a wire is a wire.
Yeah, that actually.
The banks aren't being trained. They're not being trained for the digital market at all. And I know my kid's mother. She works in that same area where she does with fraud, and they're not training anybody that I know. Not even in the mortgage loan area. None of these people in the banks, even deep in the banks, know in the corporate aspect anything about crypto.
Guys,
yeah, but they're just wiring money from one bank to another. It's why it shouldn't be a problem at all. I think they just don't want you to send your money into crypto.
Yeah, that's exactly. If you're buying crypto, that's a different story. But if you're wiring fiat currency, it's wiring instructions from one bank to another should be the same. But it's the same in the medical world. There's nurses who are spending more time posting videos of themselves in their scrubs on TikTok for views than they are taking care of the patients at work. So we're in a time that's very strange. About 10 years ago, I was at a conference called Global Prosperity. Well, it was longer than that, but I learned a lot from it. But 10 years ago, to prove a point, I went into the bank and I went up to the teller and I asked the girl at the teller if they exchange or will accept if they will accept Federal Reserve notes, and will they cash or buy Federal Reserve notes from me? And she says, I don't think so. Let me go check. So this was a bank teller who told me they do not accept, and then came back and said, no, they don't accept Federal Reserve notes. And I said, can I speak to your manager? And she goes, yeah, she's on the phone right now. Can you hold on? And so I waited, and the manager came up and said, I asked the girl if you guys accept Federal Reserve notes, and she said no. And she said she went and asked you, the manager, and you said no. She goes, yeah, we don't. Is there anything else I can help you with? I said, do you know what a Federal Reserve note is? And she looked at me kind of funny. I held up the $20 bill and I said, this is a Federal Reserve note. You don't accept cash? Oh, well, I think that she was confused. I think you're all confused. I think none of you know what's going on. But the money is a Federal Reserve note. And the bank tellers didn't even know what a Federal Reserve note is. So they don't know. They're not trained on a lot of things. They don't know a lot of things. And I'm saying, guys, that this is the way it is everywhere you go. When you go to your restaurant and you sit down and a waiter comes to your table, if you go to the hospital and a nurse or a doctor comes up to you, just know that these are human beings that have their own problems that they're dealing with. They have fights with their wife, their husband, they're having to move, they're being evicted, they have, sicknesses and ailments in themselves. They could care. I'm sorry. A lot of people do care, but most of the time they don't care. They're bullshitting you and pretending to be nice because in their head, they're thinking about something else. They got other things going on in their life. They come up to your table. Hi, can I take your order? But meanwhile, they just got off the phone with their girlfriend and they were just having an argument. They're pissed off, but they're trying to be nice to you to take your order. And you're like, I ordered water and you guys brought me this. And you don't realize who you're even talking to. You're talking to people that are on the edge. You're talking to people sometimes that are on the edge of flipping out, right? And you think they go back to the kitchen and say, oh, this poor person out there was waiting 5 minutes for the water. No, they go back and spit in your food. So be careful how you talk to the waiters and the waitresses. Never complain before you get your food, ever. And then on top of that, guys, when you're dealing with any other service provider out there for anything, just realize you probably know more than they do about most things. And it's funny because I've had the same conversation with the lady at the DMV when I was getting my title work done on a car, on a classic car that I have. She didn't know shit. I asked if I can get an antique plate. And I asked if I can get it personalized. No, you can't do that on an antique plate. I said, yeah, you can. No, you can't. You can't do it on an antique plate. I said, can you go get somebody? I mean, no offense, but can you get a manager or somebody to come tell me that? As soon as he came over, I said, yeah, I want an antique plate and I want it to be personalized. Oh, yeah, you can do that. You just have to fill this form out. It's like, guys, every time I question somebody who says no to me, I end up getting what I want done because they don't really know. They're just, unfortunately, it's like the blind leading the blind out there. And most of them, especially when it's a government agency, you're dealing with a government hireling servant who's being paid a very meagerly hourly wage to tell you what you can and can't do. And they're just, unfortunately, they're ill-equipped to give you the real right answers. So the more you know about shit, the more you feel like you're living in a alternate reality sometimes. Whereas you have to like go to the next level to just get people to, I don't know. It's tiresome. It's draining sometimes, but let's get back to trading.
Hey, Nico, I got a question on trading.
Yes. Yeah, let's talk about trading.
So it's a question for me, but it also can help the gal about the short. So in general, long-term hold versus short-term futures swing trading is essentially what you're doing. And you're reading the market to try to profit from the current move, whether that's up or down, but you're getting paid back through Phemex, XRP or Bitcoin, whatever it is. And then that's creating this environment where you're adding to a long-term hold, from what I understand from listening to you in the past. So now you have this long-term hold, which I'm doing the same thing. When you have these big swings up that come to a top, and you're interpreting that this might very well be the top, are you, when it's getting overextended like that, like on the chart you're on right now at that high there, are you pulling off your long-term hold? That's your actual asset versus the futures trade. It's what you actually physically own. Are you pulling that off so that you don't ride that wave down, or are you continually still holding that?
Yeah.
At the same time, short trading to keep dollar cost averaging as it goes down, even though you're losing out on that swing.
Yeah, great question. No. So what I have in XRP on Phemex is what I trade with. And as you can see over here, I don't really have much in here. I have 10,000 contracts on this. I'm trading with $1,496 XRP, $1,000 margin. but I have another 1,200 sitting there that I can add to it. That's what I'm keeping in Phemex. In my cold storage wallet, I'm not trading that. I keep buying more, keep buying more, keep buying more. I don't, whatever the price is, anything under $3 to me is a steal at this point. And when XRP gets to $100, you're going to say anything under $5, anything under $10. Oh, I should have bought it at 20. I should have bought it at 15, 20. You know what I'm saying? This is the same thing that happened with Bitcoin. If you could go back and buy Bitcoin at $13, you would do it all day long. If you could buy it at 1,000, you would do it all day long. If you could buy it at 20,000 right now, if someone was willing to sell you their Bitcoin at a big discount for 20,000 right now, you would buy one or more. So, that's just something that's going to keep happening. So, no, I do not. My mother does this to me all the time. My mother, she's 83 years old. God bless her. She goes, Nico, if you think Bitcoin is going to drop back down to 70K or 50K, shouldn't I sell? Shouldn't I convert my Bitcoin to USDT? And then when it gets down to 30, buy it back? I'm like, yeah, if I had a crystal ball, I knew exactly when the top was and when the bottom was, I would tell you to do exactly that. But since I don't know, what if you convert it to USDT in anticipation of the big drop, and then it doesn't drop and it shoots up to 200,000? Are you going to be mad? You're going to be mad at me, first of all, for telling you to do that. And second of all, you're going to try to buy back in at a much higher price, and you're going to be really, really upset. So there's two things. There's hodling. There's the amount that you're not risking. There's the amount that you are just storing for long-term growth appreciation over time, and hopefully adding to it if you can afford to. Dollar cost averaging in both directions, buying more no matter what, whether, okay, so let's say XRP just shot up here to $2.40. Let's say some of you bought right there because you thought this was the time. It was getting ready to shoot up. Some people did. I know that, because they're like, oh shit, I should have got long here when Nico said to go long at $1.80, but it went up to $2.40. Oh, this might be the time it's going to $10. So they buy here, and then all of a sudden it pulls back on them. And they're like, shit, I just spent $1,000 up here, or I bought 1,000 XRP up here for $2,420. And now it's all the way back down to $2. So now I'm down, $400 or whatever it is, half the money. And then they sell down here because they think, oh shit, they made a mistake. And then they get out and boom, it shoots back up, and they're like playing this roller coaster, this chase. So right here, when it broke this line, is when I closed out that long. Now, if I would have closed it here, I would have made more money. I was up. Shit, let's just go look. I mean, I was up quite a bit. I was up 1,465 XRP on that long, from $1.93 up to 238. But I didn't close it out at 238. I closed it out here when it came back down to 226, right when it broke this upward trend line, because I put my stop loss right there under that. Now it dropped all the way back down to here and bounced and starts to break this resistance and break this downward trending channel, and I went long again right here. That's when I re-entered the other day, yesterday or the day before. I can't remember when I said it. Might have been today. I've re-entered right here yesterday. So now look what's happening. Boom, double top right there, and now it's dropping again. It broke out, hit that resistance, came back down, hit this support, double bottom. We had a pump, boom, double bottom, top pump, double top. What the hell's going on? All kinds of whipsaw action happening, right? But I'm still in it. I'm still in my long. My liquidation's way down here. Let's just put this line across there. That's holding as a floor right now at $2.07. Boom, boom, boom. Is it going to break through and continue down? I mean, we did break out of this downward trending channel from this most recent pump all the way from this overall downward trending channel. I mean, let's just look at this. Let me zoom out. So we have this downward trending channel from the top. We have this big breakout right here. And we pumped all the way up to this resistance level, which was this major. Remember when we dropped on October 10th and we dropped all the way down to $1.25 on XRP, and billions came in, 3.8 billion, something like that. Boom, brought it right back up, and it held support right there. Boom. And support came up, made a higher low, a lower high, support, fell through, resistance, pumped through, came back, resistance. And now we just came back up and hit that. And then we had a big pullback all the way back down to the floor almost, but not to this downward trending previous resistance that it was holding underneath. We broke out of that. Now, is it possible to come back down and retest that? Yeah, I guess. Sure. Everything's possible. It didn't, as you can see here, it broke out, went higher, went higher, went higher. And then now it's coming back down. But where's it coming back down to? To me, guys, yes, I'm playing a game here of going long on XRP. It's probably one of the riskier things to go long on because of the volatility right now. Trying to catch that perfect timing at a bottom before it does take off to 10, 15, $20, that would be amazing. I mean, let's just look at this. I got 10,000 contracts, $1,000 on this, which is only 496 XRP. But if the timing was perfect and I was able to time this, and here's my entry right here where this green line is, and let's just say it did go up all the way up to $7 or something like that. Let's just say I happen to just get lucky and it goes up to $7. Boom, right there, $7. That's a 233% move to the upside. So if I have 496 XRP, by the way, I'm on an XRP margin. So 496 XRP times 233%, that would bring me up to 1,154 or 55 XRP at $7 now. So that is $7 times 1,000, right? 1,100. That would be $8,000 that I just made, risking 496. I'm sorry, 8,000. Did I do that right? Yeah, $8,000. But I'm also at 10x leverage. So I just made 80 grand, risking $1,000. If I were to catch that magic bump, that magic time when I just got in perfectly, right before it pumped to crazy new highs. And is that going to happen? It is, guys. The question is are we going to catch it? Are we going to catch it? That is the question. Are we going to catch that magic pump? And this is what it's going to look like when it happens. And I do believe that this is going to happen. This is where we're at right here. We went up to, the $3.60 range up here, and we came back down all the way down to the dollar. We wicked down to that $1.25, and then we're up here somewhere right here in the $2 range. But we already broke out of this giant apex. The last time we did that down here, it was just fractions of a penny, and we shot up to 13 cents, and then we shot up to, $3. And then we fluctuated in this giant cone for a while. And then, how long, guys? Years. And then we break out of this. So to me, where we're at right now in XRP in that $3 range is coming back up to previous all-time high, which is equivalent to this pump right here. Boom, hitting previous all-time high. Boom. What comes after that is this. This could be what we're looking at right now. We could be in this little thing right here. Because this wick right here, this first one was previous high. This one right here was this high. But to me, this is where we're at. And this is the potential of what's coming. And this is up here in the $28, $29 range. And to me, it's a no-brainer that that's going to happen. The question is when, and am I going to catch it? Now, if I don't trade it at all, and I just sit on the stockpile of XRP that I have sitting in my cold storage wallet and on Coinbase or wherever I have it, I'm still going to be very happy when this happens. I could not trade it all, guys, and be perfectly happy if XRP gets to these numbers. That's the safe way that's safe. Now this, I am risky. When it comes to the trading, I'm taking a little bit of my total XRP and I'm risking it with leverage. So to answer your question, yes, do both. Do both. Don't risk the majority of it. Risk a small amount for these types of moves, because if this happens and I happen to be in it at the right time when it happens, which I think I am because we're on the floor. Now, could we go lower? Yes. I mean, look, we did wick low. Whoops, hold on. We did wick a little lower here once. We did wick a little lower here once. And this is in the past year. but we're still down here. And we did break out of the floor. Like this is what this reminds me of right now. What we're doing right now is this. We break out of the downward trending falling wedge from the top. We pump up a little bit and we come back down to retest the floor. This is a 1, 2, 3 pattern. Boom, 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 back up to the top. 1, 2. Are we coming down to 3 right now? And then boom, 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 back up to the top. It's going to happen. Just timing it is, I don't, that's the crystal ball part I don't have, guys. But I'm looking at the charts and I'm looking at the indicators and I'm looking at what everything's going on in the world. And I'm taking an educated guess. I'm taking a educated guess that this is going to happen. Now, if I get stopped out because my timing was wrong, does that mean that this is not going to work? No, I re-enter. And some of you have seen me over the years re-enter 2 and 3 times, back to back. And some of you got scared and didn't re-enter on the second or third time that I did. And then it, boom, shoots up. And how many people have been in here long enough to hear me say third time's a charm? Anybody? Because I've said it.
Oh yeah, many times.
I've said it a lot. Third time's a charm sometimes, guys. And because I don't have the crystal ball, I don't know when the exact pump is going to be, but I also know that if I'm in long and I'm protecting myself with a stop and my stop is worth the risk, meaning I'm willing to lose 100 XRP for the chance to make thousands of XRP, that's a 20-to-1 risk to reward ratio, let's just say. This is the risk capital that I'm using for XRP. Now, I'm not using all my holdings. I'm certainly not using what I have in my cold storage wallet. That I'm just buying more, and I'm buying more, and I'm buying more all the time, because as long as it's under $2, I want to get to, I don't even want to say how many XRP, but I have said a few times that if it gets to $1,000, it's yachts in Monaco money. We're not talking about small chump change anymore. We're not talking about buying a new house. We're talking about a lifestyle that very few people in the world have. If you wanted it, you don't have to do all that stuff. You don't have to go to Monaco and have a yacht. I'm just using that as an example of the kind of money that some of you will have. Andrew Tate money, Bugatti. What color is your Bugatti money? If that's what you want. Not everybody wants that. I don't even care about that shit anymore. I just like security and I like solid assets. But at that point, guys, you're gonna be glad you took the risk. And for one thing, is for sure that I know for sure is that all the people that have that kind of wealth are the ones that took the most risk. I mean, there is a risk to reward situation and everything, and the fruit is out on the limb. You got to go out on the limb to get the fruit. Sometimes that's just all there is to it. So, are you willing to take that risk, and are you willing to be accountable to yourself when you do? Not me. Don't say, Nico, you told me to do this and I lost. No, I'm not telling you to do anything. I'm showing you what I'm doing. And I'm telling you that the risk is low in comparison to what I'm doing, in my opinion. But if you can't afford to risk 50 XRP or 10 XRP, right? Use a USDT margin. I'm on a XRP margin because I want to accumulate more XRP. I'm not doing this to make gas money. I'm doing this to make life-altering profits. But if you are doing this to make gas money, if you're doing this to pay your bills on a week-to-week, month-to-month basis, then by all means, trade on a USDT margin and pull out the profits every week to pay your bills. That's all fine. And hold on.
Hey, Nico, on another note,
yeah.
Can you review your entry on this? I always say a trade starts as a day trade, and so, for example, I'm continually adding XRP, buying the asset. But as we got this previous pump, just currently now up to 242, I was waiting for a pullback, and it came back 50% from basically 185 to 242, came back to about 215. And in trading, you always want to wait for it to come to you and not buy in a fear of missing out and chasing. And so So my gut feeling was it was going to come back to $2 to 205 and enter in there and get better pricing. Now, obviously, if it goes to $100, the difference between $2.15 and $2 is not a big deal at all.
Right.
However, it was a little disheartening in my own spirit because I do that regularly. The decision that comes down to at that point in time is, are you willing to miss out on it running away without you, uh, and willing to take the trade right there at 215, or are you willing to wait longer for it to pull back even further when you don't know if it's going to pull back at that level? Now, that's easy to do when you're buying the asset because all you got to do is sit on it and ride it out. As long as the long-term trend is going to do what it's going to do, which is what everybody's trying to be a part of right now over the next 10 years. So now in a short-term time period, day trading, which is what you're doing with futures right now, that turns into a swing trade back up to the highs. Can you review entering that into that trade properly? Because if I would have entered in at 215, 218, I'd be sitting at loss. And from a future standpoint, that goes back to what you said, enter the trade back in again, third time's the charm. But can you walk through just the psychology in the idea that whether it'll come back to you at that point and making that decision to enter in at any given certain point in time and not miss the move that starts in the day trade short-term perspective?
Yeah. So as you can see here, I entered at 214 yesterday. Right here. Stopped out on both longs. This is why we use a stop loss in case of a dump. Long wick to 201 level and bounced. Reevaluating now needs to get out of the downward trending channel. Right after that, that was at 819. I reevaluated. XRP, I have re-entered long again. Note, risky, as Bitcoin correlation could bring it down more, but the wick down was a fast retest of the downward trending resistance as support, and it pulled back up quickly. Entry 210 this time. So I have a better entry than I did the day before. And so I am re-entered right now already. Here's my entry here at 210. Now it's down lower than that right now. It's at 208. So you could get a better entry than me. But what is it bouncing on here? It's bouncing on 207. That's where it hit here before it broke out of this. So is it just retesting this level? Right now would be a good re-entry. In fact, if I wanted to get a better entry, what I would do here is I'm going to add more contracts right now. Watch this go down. I'm going to add 7,000 more contracts. Going to bring it from 10,000 to 17,000. This will go from 10,000 to 17,000, and this will move down a little bit. Slightly. Now I have a little bit of a better entry. Now my entry is at 209. I just added contracts. That's how confident I am. Now, does that mean I'm right? Could it fall below this? Yes. But I am taking a calculated risk that we're going to bounce, and then finally pump up. Now, what if it doesn't? What if it goes down further? That's kind of reminds me of what I was saying a minute ago. Third time would be the charm, that maybe I get taken out here and look what I'm negative right now. Look what I'm negative. I'm negative 3%, 27 XRP. That's what I'm risking right now. If it goes lower than that, I could get taken out. If I put my stop loss right under this at 206, 205, let's see, what did I say it was? 207. So if it goes below that, I could lose 50, 60 XRP. But then if it wicks down to here and bounces and starts to climb out, I will at least know that that's the bottom now, and I'll re-enter somewhere up here once it gets back above. But like the thing is I just don't know if that's going to happen. But right now, this was the major drop to this level at 207 before we broke out of the downward trending channel. So to me, it did retest that. See, broke out and retested. And then it dropped a little lower. But where is it coming to? It's coming to this floor right here. It's coming to this level where we hit before as resistance once we broke above it and held as support before climbing all the way up to here. It's back down to this level. Is this an important level? Let's go back. Oh, yeah, look at that. boom, there's major support here. Support, resistance, 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 support, resistance, support, resistance, resistance, support, support, resistance, resistance. So, and obviously when we broke out of this overall downward channel, that was the first resistance line right here, somewhere in this zone. And then we held the support. So we're kind of right there at the floor, in my opinion. Now, is it possible for it to go down further? Yes. Okay. By the way, guys, if you are brand new to the Crypto Renegades, get on the onboarding right now at 2 p.m. It just started. Bill put a link in the chat. Let's go. Let me just show you right here real quick before I continue answering this question. Somewhere in here, I'm sure. Bill put a link in the Zoom chat right here, onboarding for new members, 2 p.m. Eastern. It's also in the Discord group, in the trade chat channel right here. Bill put it there. It's also in the announcements channel. Bill put it right there. So get over there if you're brand new. You definitely need to get on onboarding. I'm going to wrap this call up here in a second anyway, but I just wanted to remind everybody of that. So back to your concern here, guys. Me personally, I re-entered. You don't have to do what I'm doing, but like I was just saying a minute ago, sometimes I do that as many as 3 times, and then third time has been the charm a lot of the times. Now, I'm not saying that that's the right way. You could wait for proper confirmation. What would it be? It would probably be bouncing here and getting back above here, and then maybe breaking this level that it hit. And then that would be a really good entry. That would be probably more positive that it's going to be going up. That would be safer, but I would have a much better entry than you down here because I took more risk. That's the only reason. But if it doesn't do that and it falls instead below here, you're going to be glad that you didn't get in when I got in. And then maybe, boom, maybe you get in down here. You're going to have a much better entry than me, but I'll probably get in down here too. I'll do that again because to me, I'll just keep doing it because I don't have that same fear. I don't have that problem of wondering whether I should or not. I just do it. It's kind of like, when you walk on pavement barefoot long enough, your feet get calloused to the point where you don't feel it anymore. I don't have any emotional attachment to whether I lose a little bit here and there. To me, it doesn't bother me. I'm numb to it. I'm looking for the best entry. And I know that if I lose 50 XRP here, and then I lose another 50 here, and maybe I lose another 50 here, and then it finally does what I want it to do, and I make 1,000 XRP on that, then do I really care about the 50 I lost here? No, that's just me. That's just me. But some people can't stomach these little losses. And that's probably, you need to decide whether this is for you or not. But at the same time, if you really want to have big gains, then you're gonna have to control your fear of loss factor, your fear and greed factor, and understand this is kind of part of the process. So we are risking a little bit to make a lot.
Yeah, it really comes down to just first being methodical about it, which is what you're doing, but continuing to swing the bat.
Yeah, and I'm not swinging the bat, by the way, guys. I'm not doing it haphazardly, and I'm not guessing. I'm using technical analysis to determine that this is probably the bottom. And when I say probably, I mean there's a likely, because it has been for a year now. We haven't gotten below this level and held below this level in a year. And on that chart I showed you, where we broke out of that big apex cone, then generally speaking, it's just a consolidation until the next spike up. So whether you catch that or not there's going to be people in here. I promise you this, there's going to be people in here that when it does happen, they're going to be mad that they didn't do what I just said. And then there's going to be some people who got a better entry than me. There's going to be some people who did exactly what I said and didn't worry about it. And they made a lot of money. And there's going to be a lot, I would say even more people that say, you watch, you'll see in the chat. This happens all the time. There's going to be some people say, damn, I missed that one. Oh, I was taking my daughter to school and I missed that one. Missed it from what, 3 days ago? Okay, well, yeah, that's fine. People use all kinds of reasons why they didn't get it, but it wasn't, I don't think it was because of the reason they're saying. I think it was because they were scared to re-enter again. And guys, I'm being nice to you the way I'm talking to you right now. I've been in groups where the leader of the group was calling people pussies and all kinds of names for not doing what he's saying to do. And I don't like that. I don't like that. But he was right. He was right a lot. And this guy made millions. This is in the stock market. And he was taking huge risks and trading options and doing puts and calls and telling anybody that if they didn't go in with everything they got, like he was really crazy, this guy. But I watched him make millions. And if I just would have done what he said, I would have made millions. But there were some of them where I would have lost tens of thousands. And some people just can't stomach that. But he's like, well, that's part of the game. If you want to make millions, you better risk tens of thousands. Like his philosophy was just different. But he was playing on a whole nother level. And we're talking about this guy does. It is brought yachts and Monaco money. I mean, hundreds of millions of dollars I've seen him make. So but that's a totally different kind of mindset. And I'm not telling you to be like that. I'm not like that. I'm definitely more understanding of people's fears and greeds, because especially when you're new to this and you don't understand that. There is nothing else, guys, out there. There's no other business. There's no other job. There's nothing else you can do for money that has the reward potential as what we're showing you. That where you can literally change your life overnight. Now you can go spend your time trading your time for money at a job or a business and work your ass off for years to finally build a company up to where it's doing $1 million a year. Yeah, for sure. Or more. Or come up with a great product or service or idea where you can eventually build that up to a multi-million-dollar company where you could sell it for a multiple of your annual earnings and make a lot of money. Of course. But the amount of people that actually do that are very slim. 1% maybe. That's why there's such a thing as the 1%. So in trading, I'm not saying to bet the farm, but you have to risk something to make something, right? You have to, whether it's $100 or $1,000 or $10,000, you got to put something on the line, and you got to be able to pull that trigger.
I'm gonna be honest with you. All I think about is going to make money and how much am I gonna put into this crypto thing. That's all. That's all, because everything else is irrelevant. You got to think listen, we're living in a moment in time that is probably never going to happen in our lifetime again. So
That is exactly right. This is opportunity, guys, that only comes around once in most people's lifetimes. And most people, and I say most people, I mean 98% of the entire world will miss it. And unfortunately, a lot of people that are even in our circle of influence here that are in this group will miss it because of fear. Straight up fear, that's all. And I'm not trying to be cold or rude, guys. I love all of you, and I want y'all to get rich. And if you're fearful of taking a little bit of risk or taking an entry, then just buy and hold. You still will make a lot of money. You still will make a lot of money, because I'm doing that too. Yeah.
Hey, Nico, one other thing before you have to go. I've heard of people moving their crypto off of, just say, XRP, off of Coinbase, and having them get their account locked up for 30 days where they won't let you move it. Is there, I'm getting ready to move some to Phemex and to my cold wallet. Is there a way to navigate that? I understand if you just had money ACH'd in and hasn't cleared yet, that's one of the reasons, but seems like there's other times where just arbitrarily Coinbase does some funny things and just stops you from moving it and kind of locks your account up for 30 days, and then you go through the same process again. Is there a way to navigate that should you do lesser amounts when you're moving it to not trigger that? Or are you familiar with that at all?
Can I jump in, Nico, real quick? That's recently happened to me. By the way, with another site that I actually use, I was being able to move my money in and out of Coinbase and to the actual platform that I'm using. And what ended up happening is all of a sudden I got locked out by the platform because the address that I'm using normally from Coinbase was now registering weird. And I'm like, huh? And I did it again till finally I got locked out 7 days, and I got locked out another 15 days. I still haven't tried it again because I'm afraid that I'm gonna get locked out again. But I think that it's a Coinbase issue.
Yeah, I've never had that problem. Ask your question again. I apologize. I might have missed something. You're talking about.
I'm getting ready to move XRP, a fair amount, off of Coinbase not only into my cold wallet, Decent, but also into Phemex. And I just want to just checking to see if you have any experience on navigating that, where you're not flagging Coinbase in a way that they lock up your account and stop you from moving it to your
Yeah.
wallet or to Phemex. I'm going to do it over the weekend, but
I've never had the problem. I move a lot around from Coinbase in and out all the time. Never have a problem. Some people seem to have problems. I don't know why. I don't know if it's your security features, your 2FA, your two-factor authentication, which I have on Coinbase. I have the Google Authenticator. I also have facial recognition on my mobile app. I also have, when I go to do a withdrawal on Coinbase, it asks me for my pass key. And what is that? They show this thing on the screen on my computer, and I have to hold my phone camera up to it, and it's confirming that it's me through my mobile app, and then it does my facial recognition and it allows the transfer, and it just winks at me and says, all good, So I'm not so sure, I've never had a problem because I have every possible, the level of security that they offer, all the way up to the top. My daily deposits and withdrawals are 6 figures. I'm sorry. My daily deposits and withdrawals are not 6 figures, but my allowance on Coinbase is up to 6 figures a day, like without any questions. Like I have the limit that they gave me is like 6 figures. But I've been with them for a long time, so I don't have the problem with them. I'm not sure, but they do have support. They do have really good support. I think, in my opinion, they do. I've never had a problem with them, but you can literally click on a button and open up a chat with them and ask. But but then again, I don't move huge amounts all at once. Like if I have $100,000 that I want to move worth of crypto, I'll send 10,000 or 8,000. And then a couple of days later, I'll send another 5 or 6 or something like that. I'm doing it in smaller increments, but that's just my own. That's just because I don't want to have an accident where I make a mistake and lose anything. It's not because I think they'll stop me. I don't think they will stop me, to be honest with you. Because guys, what you think is a lot of money is not a lot of money. Most of you. Most people think moving $10,000 from Coinbase to somewhere else is a lot. It's not to them. If you look at the blockchain, hundreds of millions of dollars are being moved in one transaction, like it's nothing.
So my takeaway from that, Nico, is have your two-factor authentication and any other security shored up, and that'll delineate any problems there. Then also, let's just say you have a $20,000 maximum that you can deposit on any given day, because they do that. They do 5, 10, 20.
Yeah.
Then if you're going to withdraw, don't withdraw. This is something I never even thought about. Don't try to withdraw more than what you could have deposited, which doesn't make sense. That you can't withdraw what is yours. It makes sense you can only put 5 in, but you should be able to, if you're at $10,000 of what you can deposit,
you can do that. I've taken everything out of a certain coin, all of it, and sent it to my cold storage wallet without any problems. But when it comes to majors like Bitcoin and XRP, I still have a lot of it on Coinbase. But I don't. That's not where the majority of it is. But I don't take it all off there because I don't like to keep all my eggs in one basket. If something happens to my cold storage wallet or I lose something or whatever, I still have my centralized exchange. I still have Coinbase. I still have enough on there that would still make a huge impact in my life if it shot to these high numbers. But so me personally, guys, this is me personally. There are people in this group that cannot stand Coinbase and will not ever have anything on a centralized exchange, and they keep everything private. There's people in here that are like that, and they have a lot, and some of them have a lot more crypto than I do. I've talked to them personally. So, but I've also heard rumors and I've heard news. I've seen people with $10 million, $20 million on their Trezor wallet, like it's nothing. And so it's safe. I mean, it's just, you just gotta make sure that you are in control of your keys and your passphrases and your 24-word seed phrase. On Descent, it's 24 words, or you can add a 25th. You can add a 5th one, or 25th one, an extra one for extra security. It's not a 12-word seed phrase. It's a 24-word seed phrase, and then also with the biometrics with your thumbprint and a passcode on top of it all, right?
Nico?
Yeah.
I may have missed it, but your last posting of your last signal, your take profit, you have none for now. Can you explain that, please?
Yeah, I don't want to limit the potential gain. Like, so if XRP does pump, I don't know where it's going to pump to. It could pump to $7. And if I have a take profit target at $2.40, I'm going to get taken out. And I don't want, don't get me wrong, that would be a nice gain, but it wouldn't be the gain that I want. I would rather stay in the trade. So if I see it starting to move to the up direction, instead of having to take profit target, which limits your potential gain, I will just simply continue to move my stop loss up into profit. So I'll prevent losing if it drops again, but I'm not going to prevent myself from gaining if it continues to go up.
So do you walk away and go to bed and
Yes.
look at it the next day, or what?
Yep. As long as you have a stop loss in place, all you're doing is preventing loss. The stop loss is named a stop loss for the specific reason to stop a loss, right? So, but I'm not going to stop a gain, you know? So yeah, I do go to bed with no take profit target. I just have a stop loss. If I wake up in the next morning and it came down and took my stop loss out, I'll reevaluate and possibly re-enter, but I'll reevaluate. I'll reevaluate first. Maybe my entry was wrong. Maybe my timing was wrong. But if I wake up the next morning and it's up at $8 or $6 or $5 or $4 or $3 or anything, I'll be very happy that I didn't have a stop loss at $1.99 or $2 or whatever, $2.99 or whatever. I'll be very happy.
So your stop loss in that posting is 207. What about if I entered 202? Would that be all right?
That's better than my entry.
Okay.
Yeah. If you're in at 202 right now, good job.
Nico.
But it did not drop to, I don't think it dropped to 202 since I gave that entry. So you must.
No. What I'm saying is if I entered a position right now and use 202 as my stop loss.
Oh, your stop loss. Okay. Yeah. My stop loss is not at 207 because I think that's where I draw the line. It's just the percentage away from my entry. It's a percentage of how much I will lose if it drops to that level.
Nico,
Yes.
what is your lowest support you said that it's going to bounce off of?
Well,
because what I did, I went in, I set a limit order to go short, and I'm in profit right now on that. I'm hoping it's going to go to hell and back, basically.
You're talking about XRP?
Yeah.
So if you're in a short position right now, I don't know where you went short at, but do you mind telling me what price you shorted?
Oh, I went in at let me look at my order. I think it was, hang on, I right here. So I went in at I went in at stop loss 211, I think it was. 211.
Your entry short was at 211.
Yeah. Because I posted a picture of my thesis, and I seen a inverted cup. Yeah. And so then I went where I thought, because from my research, it says to like if the cup has some downwards inside of it, to go at the bottom of those as your entry. So that's what I did.
Right.
And so it actually took that, it went up, and my stop loss was at the top of the cup, or the bottom of the cup that's upside down. And so it went up, and then it came back, and so I'm in profit right now. So it's.
Yeah. So this is what you're looking at as the inverted cup right here. And then on Bitcoin, it definitely looked like an inverted cup. I didn't call it one on XRP, but on Bitcoin, it certainly looked like a nice rounded cup right here.
Yeah.
And I even posted about it, but it did not break to the downside. And the reason why is because inverted cups technically tend to break to the downside to the depth of the cup. And it didn't yet, doesn't mean it won't, but here was the handle. And what it is basically is an upside down. The handle is always an upside down bull flag, or what's called a bear flag, just like on a regular cup. It's a bull flag on this side. And it would have broke, if it would have broke to the downside, it would have brought it down to this line, which is the overall upward trending support line, which it still could get to. This is Bitcoin, by the way.
And what is that? What number is that?
Probably right around 88.5.
Oh.
Now, the reason why I'm looking at XRP differently is because even if Bitcoin does this, that would bring XRP, if XRP is still correlating with Bitcoin, which eventually it will not, but right now it does tend to. Let's just go back to XRP. The problem with XRP is that it's already on the floor. Bitcoin, well, not really. I mean, this whole blued out area here was considered the floor, because as you can see, we were down here just, a week and a half ago at $1.80. And that blued out area that I have here was basically the floor. So when you're asking me how far do I think it could go, it could probably go down to the bottom of this floor, which is about $1.76. And it could go lower than that, of course. There's no, I mean, look what it did here on the 10th. It dropped all the way to $1.25. But if I zoom out, this whole blued out area that I have here, it's only done that. It's only gone below the floor, which is $1.76. It got to the bottom of it here, bounced. Went halfway through here, bounced. Went halfway through here, bounced. Went through the floor a little bit here to about $1.61, bounced out. That was went up to 260 after that, came down and bounced on the floor before climbing to the top. So very similarly here, we came down to that level, $1.80, bounced, $1.80, bounced out all the way to 240, very similar to this, right? So this could be the 1-2 action getting ready to happen. This little number, this might not even be the number 2. That might just be somewhere in between. The number 2 could be up here. This could be like a little bit of a pump like this one. Right here from the bottom, boom, right here, back down to the support level of the floor, bounce out, 2, come down, retest it again, wick down to the middle, finally climb out. This one right now, so far, all it's done is break out. Could come down, could go higher. That would be the number 2, come back down to number 3, and then finally climb up. And that's only if it does exactly what it did here. 1, 2, 3 patterns are common. And, but it doesn't have to. This could be the 1, this could be the 2. This could be the 3 that it's at right now. We could be ready to bounce out for all I know. And so that's why, since I don't know exactly when that's going to happen, I'm taking calculated risk by being in a position just in case this is the time it does that. But could it come down lower? Yes. What will happen to me? I'll close out I'll take another small loss somewhere in this zone down here. It's at 207.8 right now. Let's go to a lower time frame and see what that's looking like. Is it breaking below this level? I mean, I am a little negative now, $136 or 68 XRP. But let me get rid of this cup and handle. I didn't really like that as a cup and an inverted cup and handle, because it was very jaggedy here and it looked more like a double top happening, and it was downward trending a little bit. So, but that doesn't mean it won't break further down. It's just, to me, this was the floor before the breakout. So as we were coming down from the top in the falling wedge, we hit the bounce. We bounced here, broke out, and we could just be retesting this level a couple times before finally climbing out. I'll show you a quick example of that. Let's go back to Bitcoin. Let's go back over here.
So you're saying we're basically right now on your support line that you wanted to bounce on.
Yeah, that's why I went long. Yeah.
Yeah, because what I kind of like did a combined thing, because I figured if Bitcoin floats all boats and they're similar, it's going to do the same as if Bitcoin was an upside inverted cup. And then, so that's why I went in, because the
yeah, no, I'm not saying you're wrong. You could fare better than me,
because the way I look at it is that Bitcoin, when it moves, it moves a lot of money, but the percentage is usually lower than XRP.
Correct. And same when it goes up. Bitcoin goes up, smaller percentages XRP when XRP pumps. So this big pump when Bitcoin broke out of this downward trending wedge and went up to 94K just the other day, XRP went up to $2.40. The percentage of Bitcoin pumping was a quarter of what XRP's percentage was, right? So, however, but let's just look at this. The last time this happened on Bitcoin, we bounced on major support for breaking out. We come back down here and we do it again. We bounce on the same resistance level, support level down here. See this line right here and that one right there and that one right there. This one went lower, but it didn't hold underneath this. Boom, boom, wicked down below, and then came back above and held its support on that same line. So that's kind of the floor. So let's look at it now. One went lower all the way down to 80K. And then we've been bouncing on this one. So if Bitcoin breaks this upward trend right here, it could come down to 84K again. Boom. But let's look at the XRP. XRP is similar.
Oh, can I ask you one question before you get into that? When I'm doing these limited conditionals, it has a trigger and a limit price. Isn't that the same thing?
Same thing as what? Limit.
Yeah, because you put your size of your contracts in, and then but it has a trigger price and a limit price, and the limit price is where you normally go in. But what is the trigger? Why do they give you two different entries? So I'm just putting the same entry in because I don't know the difference.
Are you doing a limit order or a market order?
I'm doing a isolated limit condition. No. Should I be doing a mark conditional?
I never use limit conditional orders. I always use market orders. Market means right now. Like I'm entering right now. Boom.
Yeah, but I wanted to do a conditional so I could. So I'm thinking about putting a conditional long, but do I go market or limit or limit conditional?
Market. Well, market conditional.
Okay, so that's why okay, so I understand now. I understand now.
If you want it to trigger when it hits that price.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
You also want to make sure that you're on mark price. There was some people talking about how, let's just go back because there was a question I wanted to answer in the actual chat. I forgot to talk about this. Some people were talking about how they're, who was it?
That was me.
What, was that Brian?
Yep.
What happened? Did you have a stop loss?
No.
And you got taken out?
It was very strange. I called Phemex about it. They're researching it. I layered down with limits, and I was layered all the way down to 1.8 or 1.8 or whatever we entered in the first part, and it was going just fine. My limits were hitting. All of a sudden, it just tanked. I survived the first hit, and then 1 minute later, it hit again. Like it was trying to get me again. I was like, is this for real? The second time, for some reason, it kicked me, and it closed out it closed me out. Which I didn't understand.
When it closed you out, was it a liquidation?
No, I had plenty.
Were you on cross leverage or isolated?
I was on cross.
Yeah,
I had the whole thing open all the way down to I think $1. So I had plenty to play with. I mean, I had tons of room. So I was expecting this, and I actually had a couple limits below it. But this one, for some reason, the second time it came down and tagged. If you look at the 1 minute mark, you can see it.
On XRP?
USD, yeah.
Oh.
You're on it.
Yeah, there is a difference there.
No, not DT. USD on coin margin.
Oh.
On M?
The XRP margin?
Yes. Go down to the minute, you'll see it. So I actually called him and complained about it. And I said, hey, how come your USDT didn't get 2 hits in a row? Actually, there's 3. With that, the moneymakers coming in and snagging us. And they said, oh, well, that's normal. It's a different platform. I said, yeah. But it's very strange that it got hit twice in a row. Go back to 3 o'clock this morning.
Right here.
So you're not seeing it. That's weird.
Well, it's going to look different on your phone. Are you on mobile?
Yeah, but I can see it on my here. Let me get a screenshot. I'll just share it. But anyway, I called him up
Oh, that's because I'm on mark price. Are you on mark price or last price?
last. There they are, those stupid freaking things. If you look at last price, you can see them puppies. I mean, it hit, and I was just like, wait a minute, are you trying to take me out? Because I survived the first one, and then the second one hit, and it took me out, and it closed me for some reason, and then the third one, and I re-entered on the third one with putting my limit back, because I was like, well, it might do it again. So I was trying to snag and benefit from it. But man, for some reason, that second one got me, and I was pissed.
This is what I shared in here. No, let's see. Stopped up both BTC. We now have an invert. Hold on, where was it? Maybe it was this one. So this was that giant wick down to 202 that I saw on mobile. Lots of whipsaw action here. Then I said, very strange. On my mobile, it showed a wick down to 202, and on the PC, it was 206. On the PC, it was not down that far. And that's because I'm on mark price on my PC, and on my phone, it was the limit or the last price.
Yeah, because I was on my phone when it happened, and I see that same wick down like you have right there. So
yeah.
But yeah, if you spread that out a little bit, you can see there's 3 in a row.
Yeah, but it closed your trade out
on the second one, the deepest one.
There's got to be, I mean, I don't know if were all your limit orders buys, or was one of them
they're all buys.
None of them were stop loss.
And that's the weird part. They said I had a stop, and I'm like, why would I put a stop that low when I have all the limits all the way down to $1.08? And they're like, I'm not sure. We'll investigate, and they'll get back to us. So
yeah, I mean, there's been other members that have had this issue, and we're disputing one of them as well. We're trying to find out what happened, and that was back here on October 10th when this giant wick.
Oh, the big one, yeah.
That was, and it wasn't a Phemex problem. Like a lot of people think that when they get taken out like that, it's Phemex stealing your money. It's not. It's like it's liquidity. The money doesn't go to them. It goes to wherever it goes to the liquidity pool. Usually it's a zero-sum game. If someone loses money, someone else made money. But yeah, I think it's worth investigating to find out. But a lot of times they'll come back and say, no, you had a stop loss. That's why I was asking, because if you
spread it out a little bit more, you can kind of see there's like a third one in there. Can you spread it out anymore?
Yeah.
Do you see the third one in there? Yeah, it was like bam, 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 and it's like, what are they? It was strange. I was just watching it the whole time.
It is. I got taken out, but I had a stop loss up here.
But USDT didn't see it. USDT didn't even see the drop at all.
Yeah. There is definitely a difference trading on USDT or coin margin. Let me go over to.
So theoretically, the way they explained it is that the people that were trading under the coin M pretty much sold out real quick, and 3 times in a row like that. And I'm like, well, that's kind of odd, but I guess it happens. But I was looking forward to snagging that, because when I saw it starting to drop, I was like, oop, let's layer it, like I always do, because I can catch it on the way back up. And man, that one got me, and I was like, dadgum, I lost what, 300 XRP on that one.
It was a big drop from up here at 212.
Yep. And I had limits all the way down. It was great. And the fun part about it is, if you do it right,
it took all your longs and shut it down.
Yep. But
I mean,
the fun part about it was that every time it hit a new limit, the price moved, the price would move, the price would move. So I wasn't seeing any damage at all the way down. It was kind of neat to watch it work. So
yeah, it's still strange, because it seems to me like maybe one of your limit conditional orders was a stop. I mean, what a stop loss is a limit order. It is a conditional order. A take profit target is also a limit conditional order. But if you were, I mean, if it sound like you know what you're doing, and you're putting limit buy orders in, hopefully you didn't accidentally click short on one of those limit conditional orders.
It was 3 o'clock in the morning, so maybe, and I did have like 40 of them. all the way down that hill. So
You might have accidentally hit the short button on one of them, and instead of the long button, and as soon as it hit it, it reversed the position and took you out as soon as it went back up.
it could have been, but anyway, it was a fun ride while it
I'm not
happened.
saying that's what happened. I'm saying, hopefully they'll get to the bottom of it.
Yeah, I would have had a hell of an entry because I was up I think at the very bottom, I was at 30,000 contracts.
Ah, shit, that would have been nice. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you would have been really up high over here this morning once we got up here to the 215 range.
Yeah, I started at like 2,000 and then on the way down, and then I was all the way down at 30,000 at the bottom, and it would have been gorgeous entry, but it happened. But it was just strange that I saw it on USDT, that it was not there versus the USD, and I was like, something looks weird. And then I went on to the other apps to see, Coinbase and everything else, and they didn't have it on there. It only shows it on the Phemex one versus the other, and I'm like, well, that's kind of odd. Why would the Phemex only have that, but other platforms? And so I was thinking maybe they were just trading on Phemex, and those are the ones who just dipped, versus like Coinbase and everybody else. So, a lot of questions in the air on that one.
Yeah, it is strange. I mean, it's obviously very visible here on the 1 minute. Now, on the 1 minute, speaking of 1 minutes, I'm not normally on the 1 minute, but this is an interesting pattern on the 1 minute. We do have a falling wedge here. We have very obvious resistance and support lines going all the way down. And we are banging our head on the ceiling of a downward trending resistance line. And the floor is still the floor. Let's go look somewhere in this zone right here. And even these wicks here, from where you're talking about, as you can see, they wicked down below this, but none of them held below this line. Boom, 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 came back up.
Those are money makers for me.
Yeah. And that's not only did we hit it here, guys, and come back into the channel, but we're bouncing on that same line, and it did not go lower, even though the downward trending support line continues down. We still went sideways on this line right here. So that's why I'm long, because to me, my entry's up here, unfortunately, because I thought we were breaking out up here because we bounced on it here, but double bouncing, and it looks like we might be coming out. Now we could be curving back around. This could be a nice little curve. This is the 1 minute, so I don't normally spend time on it, but if we do come back, then we could go lower. Yeah, for sure. But it just hasn't this whole time, all day long, since 3 in the morning, hasn't gotten below that. Hit it here, went all the way up higher, come down, hit it, could be breaking out here for another run up. I mean, the fact that this did not get lower than this, and this was a lower high, and this did not get lower than this, and we're now hitting the top again. Can't say that it can't go lower, but there was a time here. I mean, look, we also obviously had some support right here, and support, all of that was support, resistance, support, resistance, support, lower high, breakthrough, resistance, drop. So we're kind of doing something similar here that we did here, but the difference is we were already down at this level even before this happened. So yeah, I'm going to even add more contracts right now. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do, but that's how my mind works. I do the opposite of what most people would think to do. Like, oh, it's still down here. I'm hesitant. It looks like we're going to break out here right now. I'm going to add more contracts. It's going to bring my entry down a little bit more from 17, a little bit down to 21,000 contracts, a little bit closer. So it doesn't have as far to go to get back to break even, but we still got to break through this level. And that's the 1 minute time frame. Let's see what it looks like on the 10 minute. We might have a breakout. Still negative 105 US dollars, which is 51 XRP, but it looks like it's trying to break out of this little squeeze, this little wedge right here. All right, guys, you're welcome. If you can't stay on, you can leave. I gotta wrap it up anyway. Now we're going on 2 hours and 45 minutes. I got an appointment at 3:30. I gotta get ready and leave for it. But just amazing to see the whales market did what with the XRP wick this morning at 3:45 a.m. Just reached down and tried to take all the money. Yeah. That's why sometimes sitting on a stockpile and just holding through it all is the smart thing to do. Trading it is a little riskier. We're trying to time bottoms and tops, but and there's a lot of money to be made doing that. And especially when you get dialing your support resistance levels and you understand what you're doing. But it is a little riskier. That's why we don't risk all of it. We don't risk a lot doing it because the goal is to make a lot by risking a little, not make a little by risking a lot.
Hey, Nico, I'd like to ask you a little bit about Optio before you bounce there. Is that okay?
Yes.
Just noticed since Monday, the rewards have been considerably less. Is there any insight on that?
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the way it works. I don't know why it dropped so much, but generally speaking, it was going down at a rate of, let's go look at it here. 50 or 60 Optio at a time. And then it dropped down to it was like 500 less, went down to like 1,700.
Yeah.
I got more of them, but in anticipation of the call next Wednesday, Billy pumped me up with some information, even though the price dropped drastically.
Next Wednesday, he's coming in?
Yeah, we're going to have him on.
Awesome.
Next week to help answer some of these questions. But so yeah, right here, I went from, I mean, if I scroll down, let me see if I can see more. So as you can see, back in the beginning, I was 24, 2470, 2469, 2468. It was just a couple going down, a couple a day.
Right.
And then right here, it dropped down to like 20 less, and then 2370. And then right here, it hit 1755.
Monday.
Mine went up because I bought more, but.
Oh.
But yeah, so why it's at 1755 now? It's like a 400 and 500 Optio difference. But there was a price increase, I believe. I don't know if that went into effect yet or not.
Is the reason you bought more going to be divulged on Wednesday?
Well, yeah, Billy's very pumped up, very excited, and he was telling me a lot of great things that are getting ready to happen. And I was going to try to bring him on today or Wednesday, actually today, because I just talked to him the other day, but he was getting on a plane. He said it would have to be next week sometime. So,
nice.
But yeah, I mean, it's still all risk, guys. This is like one of those things and not only that, but as soon as he tells me all this, as soon as I buy more, the price drops drastically. So there's things you can't really control. But yeah, what did the price do? It went down to 2 cents. I think we were at a high of, since we started this, we were up here at almost 8 cents, right? A month ago. So it's gone down a little bit. Now, if you go to 90 days, we were up and then went down. It went down to 3 cents, went up to 8 and back down to 3. So it's just kind of in a sideways trend right now until these big things take place. But even when they launched back here, it was at 3 cents. I'm sorry, 3 cents, not 0.3. We're at 0.
Nico, why did the distribution go down?
I didn't answer that. I don't. I'm assuming that's because as time goes on and more people buy nodes, the distribution does go down over time, less and less. Kind of like mining Bitcoin. The miners, every time there's a halving and there's less, and that the reward gets cut in half for the miners every 4 years. The amount that they get to mine gets cut in half. The value of Bitcoin goes up but the reward goes down every 4 years as there's a halving for Bitcoin miners. But something very similar is happening. I think I didn't expect it to go down that much. So this is where I'm going to have Billy answer that. I did text him about it, but he didn't respond yet. But he did say originally that over time it does get less and less and less. It's not going to go down to nothing or zero. It does stable off, but I think what was it per node per day, like 100 and something, 120. Anybody remember? Or was it 100?
Yeah, it was about 100.
That sounds about
It
right.
was about 100 and then 120 if we did the
staking, right?
staking, yeah.
So you're
If it
getting
goes-
100, 100 tokens per day per node, approximately. So some of us have 20. I mean, some of us bought 10 and we got 10. Right? We got 10, so that's 20. So you should be getting 2,000. But it was obviously more now because I was getting 2,400 tokens a day without staking up to this point. So it wasn't necessarily 100. It was probably it was 120, I guess, 120 per node per day without staking. I think it went up to 150 after that if you staked, something like that. But anyway, that would make sense because 20 nodes would be equal to about 2,400. But then it started to go down a little bit to 2,380, 2,370, and then it just dropped to 1,700 here. Now, the only reason mine's up higher is because I did add another bunch of them. But
if it helps, Nico, he did say when I talked to him a couple weeks ago, he said, obviously, like you said, as more nodes are sold, then it will go down a little bit, but they haven't even started really the transactions. Like I said, he said, this is Kevin Harrington is coming in with 1,000 merchants. And as they launch that whole marketplace where people start doing those transactions, then obviously then that'll start producing more tokens per day. And because I mean, they haven't even launched anything yet. So once they start like having transactions like with gas fees with ETH, then the piece of the pie will start growing, hopefully exponentially, and and other ventures that they're doing, like you said, going on Coinbase and others. So
yeah, I was going to say that I think that the reward quantity is temporary as far as the dipping, but also the price, the value of Optio, when that starts to go up exponentially, then even if you go from 120 a day down to 100 a day or 90 a day, and the price is double, triple, quadruple over time, then that makes up for it, obviously. But I think it's a slow incremental decrease, but I'm not sure the exact number. That's why I'm having them on next Wednesday to go over it all. Look, I got more penny. Normally it's only 2 penny, but now I got 4 penny. Yeah, go ahead. I don't have all the answers here, guys. That's why I have to bring him on, because there's a lot about this I don't even understand myself. I'm kind of just trusting, like you guys are, taking his word for it. And the only reason I am is because I've seen him make millions of dollars with these nodes, and he's heavily invested in this one himself personally. So go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask real quick, is there any adverse effect to staking, or like it's just staking too soon, or is anything negative about staking right now? Any adverse effect of staking?
Not that I'm aware of. I think that your tokens are safe and they're still in your wallet. They're just held. They're just tied up. The adverse, if anything, is that there's a 21-day locking period, which means that if you want to unstake, you got to wait 21 days to get your tokens out. So let's just say, hypothetically, the price shoots up to $5 out of the blue, and you want to sell, you won't be able to if they're all staked. You have to wait 21 days.
Yeah, I know about the 21-day. I'm not worried about that. I was just wondering if there's anything else that I may not be privy of about staking.
No, that's it. I personally, just so you guys know, I have not staked anything yet. It's not because I'm against it. You do make more tokens doing it. I just like to be more liquid. That's just me personally, in case I do need to sell. I'm not assuming that we're going to have a huge pump any moment. I'm not, this could take time. This could take a year, but at the current rate of minting, it would be, for me, maybe 1 million tokens in the next 12 months that would be there. And if we can get up to 5 cents, right now where are we at? We're at 0.003 cents.
I get you.
Now that 5 cents would be 50 grand at 1 million tokens at the end of the year, but that's very low. Like Billy's thinking $5. He's thinking up there in the $1 to $5 range. So that would be a huge difference, or even $1. $1 would be huge.
I posted that picture for you, Nico, earlier on that drop thing we were just talking about.
Yeah. I see that. Yep.
So that's kind of like when I layer, I go heavy up and right below it, so it follows it quick, and then I add more below it.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, these are all long limit orders. That's weird.
Yeah, that's what I had last night too, and it was just rocking. But
I don't know why it would have taken you out unless you had a take profit target up here somewhere that it popped up and hit. But
yeah, I got hit at the bottom and it took me out down the bottom.
The only thing I can think of is that you were on limit, you were on a cross, but cross usually just means that you're risking more money out of your account. You don't have a
well, I had it so low my liquidation.
Isolate.
Extremely low, so.
If you don't isolate a certain amount as risk right up here, isolated versus cross, like isolated, I'm isolating my risk to this margin right here.
Yeah, I didn't. It was all cross. So
yeah. So when you're cross, your now your loss could be potentially everything you have in your whole account.
yeah, I had the whole thing open. This whole account is made for that.
Yeah.
So that way I can just play on XRP only in this account. So if I lose it, I lose it, and all my other accounts are fine. But that's what I did on this. I learned it from Bill. So
yeah, no, guys, and that's why you can come up here and you can go down to sub accounts and you can open up multiple accounts. And on one account, you might be very conservative and very careful. And on another one, it could be your high risk account where you're willing to swing for fences and put a certain amount in there. You can have multiple accounts simultaneously if you want to. So, but learn how to do the basics first. Get good at the basics before you go doing all that stuff. But there's so much you can do.
I like put my liquidation at 0 and try to work from there. So no matter what happens to a coin, I can never get liquidated because it could drop all the way down and I'll still be good. And that's a good practice to play with. Otherwise, you're over leveraging yourself and you're screwing yourself. So got to be careful.
Yep. Yeah. Thanks for that. I appreciate your attitude and your understanding of how everything works because you're happy either way. But I mean, there's some people that want to jump off a building when shit like that happens. But the reality is that this is the game, guys, that we're playing in. This is not for the faint of heart sometimes.
Hey, Nico, do you still have your element nodes going?
Yes. Yeah. In fact, I can go over there and show you. Let me just go over here real quick. So element guys, go over here and see if I can find it. Element. Element still listed. What the hell is going on here? I don't need all this other stuff open. Anyway, this is element. It's still been just kind of bouncing on the bottom here for a while. Was downward trending, now it seems to be upward trending. This is the chart on element. If I go into element, Just as the back office of my nodes. Let me just enter this little code in here. Whoops, wrong element. Wrong one. So here's the dashboard. Nodes. 2 active nodes. That's it. That's all I bought in Element. These were $2,500 each back in the day. I've earned 3,525,856 Element tokens so far. Distribution is about, as you can see, 1,419 Element per day. But guys, I mean, if I go back, you'll see back in the day, back in the beginning.
A lot more.
Let me go back a bit. Let me just go to 100 and see. They were 3,000. It was 3,193 per day. I don't know what this was. 3,000 a day over the course of the last year or so. Oh, I see what was going on here. I had one and then I added another one. But as you can see, it's gone down from 5,900 a day down to 27, 13. Now we're down to 1,400 a day. Now we're what, 2 years in?
Yeah.
Been a long time, guys. So this one has not panned out the way I wanted it to. I was expecting Element to be a lot higher price by now. I was expecting Element to be up here, somewhere up here in the 5-6 cent range or more higher. And but I have accumulated a lot of it. So here's the reason why we do nodes. It's because if Element does finally take off, let's just look at this from like an Optio perspective. If Optio does get up to 1 cent or 5 cents, and you got, you know, let's say it takes a year and a half or so, and you got 3 million of them sitting there. Let's say I decide to sell. Okay. Let's just say I say, I don't want to deal with this anymore. 3.5 million times 0.05 cents. That would be 175 grand. Now I paid 5 grand for these 2 notes. Hypothetical. Now here's the thing. As soon as I pull out 175 grand and I sell all of this, the very next day when I wake up, I'll have another 1,419 tokens. 1,419 times 0, whoops, times.
Is there an advantage of leaving it in there, like liquidating it now, or like taking everything out now? Is there an advantage to that?
I would be making $700 a day at that point. 21 grand a month at that price range. So is there advantage of leaving it at this right here, you mean? What was the question?
Yeah, what's the advantage of leaving it in now?
Well, because the price hasn't appreciated yet. If I sell it now, I won't even get back what I put in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I mean, I bought the nodes for 2,500 each. So what would if I sold them now? Let's just look. What's the current price?
It's like 5 or 6 grand a node.
Right now, the nodes are 6 grand each, but
Yeah.
I paid 2,500 each, so I got 2 of them for 5 grand. But right now, the current price is 0.0004. 0.0004. So 3,525,856 times 0.0004. I would only get back $1,410 if I tried to liquidate everything now. And I don't even think I could. I don't even think there's that enough liquidity in the market to do that. Like, I don't even know if I could sell that many. Like this, like there are sells happening, buys and sells happening every day, but for very small amounts. 40, look at this one, 40,000 element, 21,000 element. And we're talking about dollars, we're not talking about a lot of money. So at this price. So to me, it's just a hold and wait situation. Now with Optio, hopefully this will, this is a risk too, guys. See, I invested this, and Billy was very confident about this one too. But before this one, Billy made 9 million on Gala. Before that, or after that, it was Stitch. By the way, same parent companies. So he's invested a lot in all of these. Now this one hasn't paid off yet, but I'm in their Discord group, and they're talking about some positive things. Here it is right here. Elements official Discord group. They're having meetings all the time. They're talking about all the new things that are happening. So there's a lot of good things happening. It just hasn't happened yet. Right. So these are the risks. These are the risks you're taking with this kind of stuff. Obviously, it's an investment that if it pays off in a year and I got 1 million Optio tokens and then Optio goes to 5 cents or 3 cents or whatever, then we're talking about big money. And so that is kind of the risk. Now they're not expecting it to be 5 cents. They're talking about dollars. So I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but if it does, then some of us will make millions from it. And Billy has done that a couple of times on some of these nodes. So that's why he's like the authority on it. He speaks on it, he talks about it, and he only aligns himself with the companies that have the resources and the ideas and the projects and the right people and the right connections behind them to make it happen. So when he brings this something to me and I bring it to you, it's only ones that really have the most likelihood of ever making it to an exchange, but that's still no guarantee, right? So we are still taking a risk.
I would have thought with the rise in gold, it would have spiked there a little bit more from them, but who knows?
Yeah. The thing with Element, I mean, the concept is a great idea. That's why I did it originally, and what they're trying to accomplish is pretty admirable, but it's not an easy task, I don't think.
Yeah.
Any other questions, guys, before we wrap it up? We're at 3 hours now. This is a longer than normal call. I got to get ready. Anything else? Right now, we're still bouncing on this. I mean, even when I think we're about to pump, let's just look one more time. XRP broke out of a downward trending falling wedge, and then it's still coming down to retest. Is it going to retest this? What is it retesting here? It's usually bounce time, but hasn't yet. So I will definitely keep you guys in the loop. If I see it going up, I'm going to put my stop. As soon as it starts to get back up to my break even and gets above here somewhere, I will put my stop loss probably at break even right now. I said it was at 207, which is right under this line. I actually deleted it right when we started this call. So I don't even have a stop loss right now. But I will probably put one in right now because I have to go get ready, and I don't want to run the risk of this happening, even though I wouldn't get taken out because my liquidation is way down here at $1.92. I'm not worried about it. I don't think it's going to go down that far, but we could have one of these big wicks. But if this happens and I'm not paying attention, I won't even know because it'll wick down. I'll go negative a little bit and then come right back up, and I'll be positive without a stop loss. But if it goes like this and it keeps going, I will be at a big loss. So I don't want that. So I don't mind getting nickeled and dimed for a few stops, maybe 3 before I finally reevaluate. But
put a limit down there.
Yeah, right. That's a good idea. I think that's a good idea. Right now, I'm going to put one in like $2. Right, so I'm gonna do it. And that's too far. I think I'll put it up here right around 202.
So for those who are still on the phone or on the call, we're not doing this because it's an actual solid candle all the way down. It's what we're calling whipsaw, which it drops and immediately takes right back up. So it's a different kind of wick. I will actually move my limits out of the way if it starts to go down here slowly. This is just to capture that whipsaw if it happens again, which is rare. I usually only see them when it drops like it did last night. So that's when I said, ooh.
I have a limit conditional order on Bitcoin at 2 cents.
I got mine at 75, but
at 2 cents for the entire amount of Bitcoin, 21 million.
that's crazy.
If Bitcoin drops down to 2 cents, I have a limit conditional order to buy all of it. Probably won't happen.
Yeah, I think mine's at 72 or whatever, or 75 or whatever that mark was that we talked about.
Yeah.
About 9 months ago or so.
Right. All right, guys. Have a great rest of your day. I'll keep you posted if I see anything change. That was, by the way, that limit conditional order was not a signal in the group, but you're welcome to do it if you know what you're doing. That's just in case we have a wick down. But I'm expecting it to climb from here. I'm hoping it does. We have a lot of news happening in the world. But if it doesn't, we will just reposition. We will just reevaluate. I'll let you know what I'm doing and I'll put it in the group. All right, guys. Have a great rest of your day. What's today? Friday. I might go long again. No, I can't do that tomorrow. I mean, not long. I mean, live. I was going to go live again tomorrow, but I have a birthday thing I got to go to. But if I see anything change tonight, I'll just post a video update or something like that. But right now, it looks like we're just slowly, very tiny candles and very little movement. I think that whipsaw action earlier in the morning today was the excitement that we were going to get in this 24-hour period. But we'll keep you posted. Have a great, if you have any questions after this call, ask it in the main chat or in the help desk, and I will see you in the Discord. All right, guys, have a great rest of your day.